you've still got to be you. What works for you doesn't work for me, or vice versa. But I take a lot in on that whole energy piece, and even coming down to when we eat, the energy of the day, the meetings we have in my calendar now. I'm working out my energy because you want to get the best out of productivity and efficiency, right?
Correct. Yep.
So I won't go into it anymore. I love that you brought that up because you've always said that to me a lot. I've changed or evolved a lot with it because I'm more intentional about it. And just from a generic sense, you're right. You've this holding space and energy for people because everyone's different. This is Mo. We've known each other for 8-9 years. Followed each other along some different journeys. Mo's seen and been in probably more the last 2-3 years. He's been very supportive of me going through my personal stuff, but also through the business. And then on the flip side, and we'll dig into that, but on the flip side, Mo's had a fantastic journey. He's the go-to guy when support, help, listening. Probably listening's probably the big piece. And he's always giving out there in the community, and really big on the mental health and the self-care piece. But I won't go into it anymore. So that's how my intros go. If it was Mo, it'd be down to a T, right? But how are you, Mo?
I'm actually doing really well.
Awesome.
After that splendid, wholehearted intro.
So Mo's also big piece of Happiness Co, which I'll let him go into because there's so much to it now. I wouldn't even get it right, but they do a fantastic job. And anyway, I'll pass over to you because
Okay.
give us a little.
All right. Well, I'm Mo. Hello. Mo's short, by the way, for Maurice.
So there you go.
And there's a whole story behind that. So firstborn to Mauritian family, migrants in Australia.
Yep.
63 years back, my folks migrated to Perth, and in homage to Île de Maurice, which is in French, obviously the island of Mauritius.
I'm learning already.
And my grandfather, whose name was Maurice, and there's a really nice little story around that. But yeah, that's awesome. Where it's come from. And while at school, being Franco-Mauritian, Aussie, so I'll call myself a Mozzie. It was pretty unknown to, unique to have a name like Maurice, It's not like Paul, which is really solid and,
My first name's Paul, my second name's David, probably the most most boring names in the name book. Are they going to have a comeback like everything else? Probably not.
PD or PD, just short PD, like Mo. So Maurice shortened to Maury, to Mozzie, to Maury, to Mo, and that's where it's landed.
So it's spelt with a C. So is it Maury or Maurice?
It's Maurice.
Maurice. So Maurice. With a rolled R.
Yeah. A very Franco.
It sounds a bit flash.
Rolled out. Well, that's why I drop it down. I drop it down to a Mo. It's a bit easier. But it's funny because I'm introduced now as Mo.
Yep.
And of course, us Aussies, the way we do things, we don't shorten if we don't need to. We extend. So it's now Momo.
Are you kidding me?
I get called Momo. Yeah. So
right,
a number of people call me Momo. But
can we put that on the
Paul.
name of the thing, Momo, please?
A Momo. But with that, so folks migrated here, got a real passion around the culture of France and obviously Mauritius as well, and been there multiple times, which is an amazing country. And then so that's sort of the where Maurice and Mo comes from, which is thank you. That's me. 63 years ago, here I am.
Nice.
Ready to take on the world.
So sorry. Where were you born? Were you born over there?
Born Australian. So firstborn.
Yep.
To
Whereabouts?
Mauritian parents.
This is all the stuff I don't know about you.
I'm a southerner. I grew up, born and bred, grew up in south of Perth.
Oh yeah.
And then met my wife, who's a northerner, and the second half of my life has been lived north of the river, which is because there's this whole sort of conversation divide between north and south.
I'm going to tell you something really funny. Last night I was walking.
Nights.
Last night I was going for dinner, and I was walking with this friend down into the city, and it's a female, and she's trying to tell me how good she is at maps.
Okay.
And long story short, where it ended up is she goes, yeah, but like it's easy because if it's either north of the river or south of the river, I'm like, yep. So you're really good GPS then. This is the whole Perth thing, right? This north and south
It
of the
is,
river.
yeah, because you're not from Perth, are you?
No, originally I come over in 04, south of the river.
Yeah. There you go.
It
But it is a big thing.
I used to have to look up what's NOR and SOR. Like, it's just such
yeah.
as biggest thing. You're on Facebook or you're on something, and it's like
Yeah.
north of. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
And then of course east and west. But talking of of I suppose situational location, it's amazing how people do anchor themselves in different locations and then refer to themselves in and around that location. And I'm observant of that when people talk about north or south or west.
It's pretty broad when people say north or south. That's what I was saying last time. Like,
Yeah.
you can't get there just by being saying north of the river.
Yeah.
There's this big divide, huge divide.
It's like, and I'm not that much into footy, but which code do you follow? Which team do you follow? Et cetera,
West Coast
et cetera.
forever.
Yeah, and that's a whole funny conversation.
Actually, I grew up. My town is a bit like that, Albury Wodonga. So Albury's on the new south side, Wodonga's on the Vic, and the Murray River goes through it.
Correct.
Like, all jokes aside, it's actually very similar. It's like this Albury Wodonga.
Yeah.
I was born in Albury base, but I grew up in Wodonga. It's nearly the same thing, actually. I've never thought about that. It's very similar.
Yeah, well, we're talking about growing up. I mean, grew up on a farm, and the farm was 32.
Whereabouts?
32 hectares. It's the farm was on Spencer Road, Cannington.
Yep.
So again,
wow.
60 years ago, it was rural, amazing, and that was life. That was living as a kid. Living in country, literally.
Love it.
And on the Canning River. So before the Canning River was dammed, etc., we built very Mark Twainish. We built rafts out of 44-gallon drums and strapped them up, and got the oars out. And then as we grew on the farm, it really, the whole connection to the land was there and is there, and that's part of the my value set. Amazing place, and growing up with my cousins, so they were the two families that lived on the farm. And I recall one year.
What did you do? Just quickly, what did you do on the farm? Like, what was it farming? Anything? Or just land?
Well, no, it was not. No, it wasn't land. It was actually chickens.
Oh,
So Dad and his brother built the storage sheds for these chickens, and the whole automation piece as well as the time. It was amazing engineering in its time. So they were pioneers of, unfortunately, of caged chicken, egg laying. So it was an egg laying farm, and they sold eggs out of a little shed on the property, which is just amazing. So as a kid, I grew up in and around that environment, and saw the dad and his brother actually build these sheds, which is amazing. And just sidebar, a lot of Mauritians now have been when they come to Perth. They actually go into chicken farming and have referenced Dad and his brother as the pioneers of that space.
it's like it's funny how actually people from different country end up doing the similar things. Irish construction, form workers, concreters. What else comes to mind?
And Greeks, of course.
And Greeks. That's crazy. Hey.
Yeah, but so farm
Chickens.
where it was, and I recall one year it was an amazing year in that where the farm was located, and that was 2 Spencer Road, and we were on 3 Spencer Road, so the little house that we were in was up the drive. But the Canning River, before it was dammed, just flooded. That whole area was lowland. So the estate farmhouse was centre, and then it was literally like, around it was a moat of water. This front and centre of the West Australian copy. Dad, his brother, myself, and my cousin, they were rowing us up to Spencer Road on the farm because there was so much rain, and we were flooded in.
Wow.
So history as it is, government came in and said we need the land, and they gave us the dollar for it, which wasn't the very best. And
I just want to touch on something there. So obviously this podcast is about roadblocks, risks and resilience, right? And I didn't probably put that in the intro, but people are getting used to that. So
let's reframe it then.
Yeah, so we go back to like, this is what I absolutely love, like hearing, like these days the conversation what we're talking about now would be talking about like the caged chickens and all that, but you go back then to the survival era. I always call it survival. These days, convenience. But you go back then, it wasn't thought of like that because everyone's trying to survive and the population wasn't there, and like you immigrate to Australia, etc. Daily now we whinge about some of the hardest things, and I had a max day yesterday, hence going ice bathing, but then you go back to what you just said, and you got to row because it's flooded, and you've just you built these sheds for the chickens, and that's what puts food on the table, right? 100%. Survival back then, it's different. 100%. Yeah. You haven't got the breathing space for a up or for to go backwards, or Mother Nature to go and turn you upside down. Now they're the roadblocks. Yeah. Now they're the risks.
Absolutely, the things that you can control, contain, influence, etc. And for the folks, for Dad in particular, it was incredibly challenging. I look at him and what he and his brother had to go through.
Yep.
First sort of migrant family from Mauritius. They were pioneers.
Yeah.
There's a whole story to that, which is the reason why I am who I am today.
Yep.
Forget the sins of the father. These. Dad was amazing, still is, as was my grandfather, as is my uncle.
Just to without going into the other story, and we may come back to this. I'm trying to get everyone to come back 3-6 months later, right?
Yeah.
Because the stories are unbelievable, right? So, but just why you like you are where today? Like, just give me
100%.
one or two nuggets, like out of what
100%.
That story.
100%.
What are the things that come to mind instantly out of that story without going into the story?
Yeah. Well, first of all,
yep.
the camaraderie of family. And the love associated with that. As I said, there were two families.
Yep.
Plus. So at one stage, there was like 15 people living in a, whatever it was, a 2 or 3 bedroom farmstead.
Yep.
And an extended shed here, and then the smaller house where we moved to.
Like caged humans with the caged chickens.
Yeah, but no, correct. And making do. Just
survival.
Talking about resilience. Making do with what they had. And by the way, their first language is French.
Yep.
True. I spoke French for 7 years.
Did you?
It's my primary language. So I spoke French, and again, talk about resilience, that barrier of language at a tender age. I ran away from primary school because, it's as if yesterday this occurred. I ran away from primary school because I couldn't communicate. How important is that? So the lessons learned from that period of time of finding your voice and being able to communicate and making sense of everything that you know.
I think that piece there, and I'm going to quickly touch on two separate stories just quickly. That piece there, I reckon, is one of the biggest roadblocks and reasons a lot of people from your era are where they are today. Now, one of them is my ex-father-in-law. He come over Croatian, I think, 76.
Yep.
Wicked story, never take it away from him. He taught me a lot of resilience from roadblocks. Now, he couldn't speak English, had to redo his trade and his licence, and he ended up very successful. And now another Croatian, actually, someone I've known for a long time, large transport company now in Perth. I remember hearing his story as a fitter, sat in a classroom, couldn't understand everyone, and left and never went back and went and drove trucks. That's the short version, right? And he's very successful now as well. Now, I take that piece, like that language barrier, we don't realise, once again, go back to communication and relationships. How do you build relationships? Communications.
Correct.
And go back to that family piece, like sticking together and the survival. It's amazing how close it brings you, right?
Look, 100%. And the adventures that we had with nothing. I still recall Mum saying, she had a lipstick, and it was like, she'd get sort of fingernail to get a bit of the right at the base of the lipstick so she could put it on her lips because she was and still is an incredibly beautiful and powerful, woman, and how she presents herself. And again, the 60s French, Mauritian, very styled, very stylish. I think, Brigitte Bardot and the rest. It was an incredible period to now reflect and observe what was happening.
So what years were this?
62 to 80. So,
okay.
So basically 20 years.
Yep.
18 years.
18 years, to 80.
So formative years.
I wasn't even born yet.
And this is it. Thanks, Paul, for aging the reference point.
Try not to highlight that.
But no, I embrace it. And I'll share many a story with you around the decades. And who you are and how you show up now. But back to your blockage. To resilience. Absolutely, I've learnt that through my dad, and my dad, unfortunately, did have a significant mental health issue, and having qualified in psychology, being in my late 20s and still, finding out where I fit into the world, he was going through this serious situation of depression, and having studied psychology, I reflect back on it again. It's like, what was he going through at that stage, and I wasn't aware, connected to or actually empathetic to it.
So just on that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and which is really cool. So you were saying mid-20s, did you say? Around that time? Late 20s?
So it was
Studied
20,
psychology.
25,
Your
26.
dad's going through this stuff, right?
Yep.
But like, just think about, like, go back, time machine to that spot, knowing psychology, to now knowing psychology.
vastly
And I'm not even talking doing a psychology degree. I'm talking
Vastly
just the world now, how transparent the mental health we understand just by even, me and you talking on what I've learned off you over time, or, social media or whatever, right? Like, the difference then, and go back to what you just said, you weren't even aware, you didn't even click, like, how much of the whole depression bit, the mental health of your father. And
And Paul, on the flip side of that, how resilient the women were. So how resilient my mother was.
But they had no choice. And I mean that really nicely. I mean, like, all of them, like, survival is like, you didn't have the time or the space to go, but, they were so strong. Like, I once again, I go back to my ex-wife's parents and their grandparents, their parents, which is my wife's grandparents, just watching them, and like language barriers, or even to this day, they're so tough. Even my grandmother's, back, one just passed at the end of last year, but both of them, and I've gone down the rabbit hole with this family thing, both of them are probably a big reason why I am where I am. And like that generation, the survival and the toughness in it. Yeah. And it's like, you don't have a choice but to worry about. Like, we're lucky. We have the time now to stop and go home. Hey, Mo, can we chat about something? Because I don't feel well. I don't. And that's great. That's wicked. We need to do more of it. They didn't have it.
Or have the technology.
They didn't have the safe space.
You can speak as, as a product that the Happiness Group is going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. It's a companion piece that, but back to that, the whole notion of being aware that your father, who is the person that you look up to, absolutely, love, hate, or otherwise, all the experiences that you go through as a teenager while you're fitting into your skin.
When did it click for you? Like, so late 20s, done your degree, studied psychology. Yep. Like, when you hit, say, 30, so what would that have been, early 80s?
Oh, man, between the 25 to 30. So not only finished degree, but then I went back and studied exercise physiology.
Did you?
With the idea of, again, at the time there was no courses, advanced courses in sports psychology, and I always loved the notion of performance, and how to to be the best that you could potentially be, striving forward to that, but then using psychology to really support those individuals.
So I just want to make a quick note. So survival, generation, parents, family. Yep. Then psychology. Then exercise physiology. Is that right?
Yep.
So just 2 secs.
Right.
So there's 3 pieces here. The reason I do this podcast, one of the biggest reasons, at that moment when you were doing that, you're working life out. Now you go get it today and you reflect back on it, which we'll go through. Yep. You don't realise how much they help you now. People think they waste 5 years doing something because they never use it. But how it all connects later, which is probably where we'll roll into. Keep going. Sorry. I just want to make that point.
Because, the whole notion of connect, okay?
Yep.
And I connect.
Yep.
And the moment had now is that you're connecting.
Yep.
Well, I'm also known as the connector.
Yep.
Okay. So back to that, and it is a journey. It is absolutely a journey, and so realizing that I wasn't going to be a psychologist, because at age 21 when I graduated, I was like, let's be realistic. What have I got to offer an individual? To then, my second love, if you wish. It was physical activity. It still is. So it was like, okay, how do I blend the two together? And that's how I landed myself into the fitness wellbeing space all those years ago, 25 years ago.
Wow.
Not 25 years ago, when I was 20 to 27. So I finished my studies, and at the same time, and you wouldn't know this, but at the same time, my then partner, physical wellbeing partner, Peter, she was invited to Japan. And she was invited to Japan to then demonstrate what was then called aerobic dance.
Yeah,
okay.
Back then.
So this was 87. So Peter and I were the West Australian champions of aerobics. And
is there any?
And with that, I can give you some moves. Absolutely, I've got video footage of my moves. So that again was an opportunity. Seize the opportunity.
Yep.
So we were crown champions. She was the state women's champion. So between the two of us, we were invited. She was invited. I came along.
Yep.
I saw the opportunity. I went,
Nice.
yeah, fuck yeah, I've got nothing else to do. Because that year in particular was a massive year. 87 was a big year. And then we went to Japan and we opened a cardio hospital for in Osaka. And that opening was us demonstrating our We also, did classes for the local university, for Fukuoka University, and spent time with the students there. It was an amazing 2 weeks. Japan, 87. People, it's a hot spot now. People are going there, But 87, talk about culture and talk about, 27 years of age going, what the hell's all this about? Here's an opportunity. I reference sliding door opportunities.
29 years ago. Wow.
Okay, I reference sliding door moments. So those sliding door moments, the door opens, you stand, okay, you look, the door closes, all right? The door opens again. Do you step forward, do you stand, or do you step back?
Make a quick decision.
Okay, and in that situation I stood and I didn't step forward. And the step forward was the potential to study secondary exercise physiology at the university. And I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable with the language. Back to language.
Yep.
And also the notion that Japan culture, etc., huge culture shock. I travelled a little bit, but I hadn't travelled to Asia, and in particular Japan. Japan's an amazing country, culture, etc. So that moment didn't happen, but within a year of that, so much happened in the space that I occupied.
So let's just
in the fitness industry.
Let's just touch on that for a sec, right?
Yep.
Because I'm really big on these days. I'm really big on like the universe will make things happen and things happen for a reason, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you just said you didn't step through the door, and the instant I'm like, "Where's this going? Do you have regret? Whatnot?" Do you know that my biggest thing, the way I look at this, you're never going to know what the other path would have done.
Correct.
Whatever your path you're on, and this is a big piece, right? I actually think about this a lot. Make a decision and move on. And this is what a lot of people struggle to do. And even if, let's say it's the wrong decision or you hit a roadblock, pivot. I'd rather fail, pivot, fail, pivot, fail, pivot, and then you're going to get somewhere. But every little step you make, whether you step through the door, you don't step through the door, the other option, plan A, plan B, you learn a bit. And you'll never know what the other one is, so it doesn't matter. Don't get caught up on it. And you just said to me after, that's why I didn't butt in yet, but in the next 12 months, so you'll get your glass half full, so much happened. It's epic. Like, it's good.
But that's who I am, and I always have been.
Yep.
And I'll throw in the term victim in a minute in reference to mental health and its impact. But yeah, within that 12 months, so graduated exercise phys, which was awesome. Japan, awesome. Competition, Japan, awesome. Next 12 months, I'm the president of the Fitness Institute WA.
Oh, wow.
At age 27, okay. And that, again, was opportunistic. And
back then, not like roles like that. These days, you'd probably see a 20-year-old in it. I would think back then, no matter what associations, not many 20-year-olds get into that stuff.
No, totally. And it came from being a volunteer, and that's also, with the foundation that I am a director of. It's really important to be part of community, and that was a great way of being part of community. But it also complemented what I was doing. So at that stage, I was running my own business, consulting business. I was consulting to corporates. I was teaching others we set up the first private training program. So myself and my mate at the time, John, and that was monumental. So all these fitness leader of the year, WA, etc. So that was the year. That was like a major year. And the fitness industry was young. So we're talking 87, so let's say 90. Here we are in 26. That's 36 years ago.
Yep.
All right, 36 years ago, I was talking about corporate health, okay, and the balance between work, life, physical well-being, mental well-being.
So,
and also, sorry, Paul, and also then that whole social community piece.
Yep.
All right, so that's...
What was your biggest roadblock at late 20s? Like doing all that, what was it's all exciting, all that stuff. What was your biggest roadblock?
The biggest roadblock was, and talking about a glass half full, was the notion that I wanted to do it all.
Mindset?
No, not at all. I wanted to do it all, and I was trying to do it all.
Yep.
And at one stage,
at that age, you don't have patience.
I had triple booked myself.
Yeah.
And one of the things was I was a judge for this competition, aerobic competition. After the years of competing, I then became a judge, and at the same time,
I'll just add that. Mate.
no,
Why not?
that's just the episode. That's the industry episode. It was huge. Oh, I didn't tell you about Miss Summer Girl. That's a whole another conversation. So at the same time, I was a sponsored athlete for 3 years.
Were you?
Through Reebok, yeah.
Doing what?
Aerobic competition.
Aerobic,
dance.
yeah, all the same, yeah.
Teaching, being a brand ambassador, a social influencer.
Wow.
Without the media piece.
So what impact did that have? Did you, back then
awesome.
in your 20s, did you have the ego then? Did you, like, you're doing all this stuff. I've got a feeling maybe at some point a couple of it dropped off, as it does. Did that impact you? Like, what was your roadblock around doing all that, besides trying to do it all? And I'm probably one of those people that have learnt that over the time also, and you probably pointed out to me over the years. And it's probably from your own learnings. Slow down, Paul, and, you know,
100%,
do things.
100%.
So tell me,
Yep.
like, back then, like, what's probably one of the biggest things that sit with you now, like, out of that?
You mentioned ego.
Yeah.
You know,
We all go through that, I think.
I reflect more so that it was drive than ego.
Yeah.
Okay. I look at a positive, softer explanation to
Yeah.
what that is. Okay. You need drive. You
100%.
You can't keep going year in, year out, decade.
I always
decade
put
out.
just on that ego word, right? I always put a negative spin on the word ego, right? It's just, and
Most
I think
people
you
do.
kind of did as well then, because you're like, I'll put the positive. Do you know, someone said to me a year or two ago, and I always thought, intentionally trying to work this ego piece out, but someone said there's good ego and bad ego, right? Or negative ego. And it's kind of what you just said then. There's drive, there's confidence, there's a line, right? And I think there's a fine line between it all as well, right? Because...
Can I answer that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love
All
to hear your view on it.
Because it's all about who you bring with you on the journey. If you're ego driven, you bring yourself on the journey and no one else.
That's a really good way of putting it.
All right. If you see yourself, your motivation, your energy,
Yep.
you will bring the people with you.
Yeah, we can.
Because you can achieve so much more. I reference that now in some of the work that I do, the me, we, us. So me, what can I do about anything and everything?
Yep.
What can we do?
You always say this, yep.
Right? And then how does it then influence the us?
Yep.
So ego to me, and there are many leaders in our community now who are ego driven. It's about them. It's about what they need to achieve.
Go and look at the companies that fall over. Corporate, mining, small,
100%.
and all the businesses, like whether they're corporate or business owners, one of the biggest reasons, even in my own last 10 years, like if anything's buckled me, it'll be ego. And I'm really big on being an upside down org chart and going with everyone, but I think we all have these spaces, and it might be a lot of it's a defense and a protection piece at certain times as well, because you end up in your own little world.
Of course.
And me and you've chatted about this.
You've built it. You've built your IP,
Yep.
et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of risk to that
Yep.
return on investment piece. But back to the ego,
Yep.
it is absolutely about the journey that you're on.
Yeah.
If that individual is driving that journey, is motivated, et cetera, achieves, whatever that level of success is, however you want to measure that.
Wherever that is. Yep.
If that person has brought others along the journey, okay, then boom. It's to me, it's someone I want to have.
Someone told me a while ago, and when you talk money, which is it happens along when you're trying to grow, there's no point being the richest guy at the end of the table and the most expensive bottle of wine by yourself. There's no point.
100%.
And it really sat with me, and it was actually an ex-friend of mine that told me that, and I really do believe that, because like I always say there's no finish line. This is why I called it the journey. I've always said it's about the journey, right?
Totally.
And a lot of people talk about that now in the last few years, but I've always said it and enjoy the process. And it kind of aligns with the same thing. There's no finish line. There's no number. Like when you talk money, it's like $1 million in the bank, $10 million. Well, there's no number, because it comes back to filling your cup. And like I'm pretty big like you, like upside down org chart, have the people come with you, the community, like help others. But there's also a line in that also. If you give too much, you've got to be selfish to be selfless. And if you give too much also, it can change that people around you also, like on their side, their ego. That happens a lot. I've learned a lot about that last few years.
100%. And I've seen you and your journey in the last few years. Another close mate of mine, brother of mine, who's an incredible young entrepreneur, 37 years of age, he's Irish, owns a business up north.
Yep.
I continuously reference to him, be humble.
Yep.
Have your drive, etc.
Yeah, all that.
There you go. But be humble. I keep reminding him of that.
Yep.
You know, being humble, having humility, to me is an amazing leadership skill.
Yeah.
Which people within our community look at and admire.
Yeah.
More so than the flash car, the house, etc. So the ego piece, where it sits, okay, and there's a whole, you know, Freudian and other, you know, relationship with ego and where it sits generally for an individual. But, you know, be the person that others want to be with you.
This is from someone in the business that I work closely with. I just want to read it out, and this is a little bit of a feather in my cap, but this is what fills my cup. So it's giving me credit, but it's like when you go back to leadership, right? This is what gets me out of bed in the morning. Mm-hmm. You know, we all get humble. Actually, you know who humbles me the most? My physio. She kicks my ass and humbles me. I tell her that all the time. Because you don't get this all the time. You got to, as a leader or an owner or whatever, right? Mum, dad, like father, husband. You just got to keep, when they talk about the men, because, you know, it's a bit different, the woman and the man, but in certain ways, it's like you just got to keep going and you don't get credit and you don't. But it's the little 1% now and then that you get that really like keeps you going, if that makes sense.
Yep.
We're on the right path, mate. I know I don't say it enough, but even today, mate, you got it. Being a great leader is not dictated by the success it formed, how you act when things aren't going to plan. Thanks, mate. That is what builds true culture, not just words on the wall. 2 days ago. The last 2 days I've been maxed, right? Which I love. I love it, right? I love being back here in the fire in the belly. But there was a couple of challenges going on personally with someone. But my whole day stopped because it was crossing the line. And actually, I nearly wasn't going to be here today because of it. I was nearly going to cancel the podcast because I was going to go see them because what's going on. And there was a couple of challenges in the business and then a couple of personal and like what prioritizes, right? Mm. Now, money, clients, all that stuff, like clients are most important in business, but all that kind of shifted in a 10-minute window. And it was like, stop. Mm. And it's kind of off the back of that message. I can't go into it, but why do we do this? It's not the numbers at the end. It's the journey, right? So I have someone that is, you know, we're in the same community. We follow each other. We're going to be on the journey together. Or I could have been worry about that after hours. Worry about like, do you know what you get what I'm saying? I don't want to say too much, but it's I love people coming on the journey, coming along with me because that they have been for a few years now, and it was I love that I can support that person when the moment happens, and my whole world stopped for that 10 minutes. Yep. It was like I said to my EA, can everything. Yep. I need to process find a solution to a couple of things, and that's the message I got that night, and that's huge. That's a huge piece.
It's powerful, and this is if I go back to the me, we, us. You know, you don't know what that conversation can lead to.
Yep.
So
and no, like I love that it come up on the spur of the moment. No one would have known that though. Mm. We do this, and no one knows, and it fills my cup, makes me go to sleep at night, right?
So then the question I pose back to you is then why do you do it? Okay, so philosophically, why are you doing that? Is it to your point of filling a cup? Is it filling part of the cup that for some reason is detached, disassociated with?
If I was going to answer that, I'd probably have to go into a bit more detail.
Okay.
Because once again, it goes back to family.
But just reflect on it.
Yeah.
And I think for the people who are listening on the podcast, you know, just stop the moment, all right? And what is it? Why am I doing that?
Yep.
Why am I doing this random act of kindness?
Yeah.
So the Happiness Co Foundation, we talk about random acts of kindness.
Yep.
Why am I doing that at that moment?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So flip it when people ask, and I've got the tagline on the back, making happiness attainable. So Mo, I was having a coffee with a mate 18 months back. I have a lot of
I'm going to say the word responsibility quickly. We'll come back to it, just so I don't forget what I was going to say. Keep going. Yep. Keep going.
Right. So with that, having a conversation with a mate, T-shirt with a polo on the message on the back, and this woman interrupted our conversation and said, how do you make happiness attainable? Super powerful question, given the brand and who we are, the foundation, etc. And without thinking through it, I said, it starts with a smile.
Yep.
And that's part of the logo.
Yep.
Right? It's a smile.
It's so true.
Because the power of the smile, what it can do, okay? It's reflective in itself, and like a mirror, it reflects. Then with that, the conversation. So if you smile, okay, then you're opening the door to a conversation. And because we're so disconnected, having that conversation then starts the connection.
Yeah.
All right, which then has that ripple effect. But also, you've got to understand that in that situation, this lovely lady interrupted a conversation I was having, okay? And I'm not necessarily into that.
Yeah.
Being interrupted when I'm having a decent conversation. I find it very disruptive. And also from a regulatory perspective, you lose the idea of the thought pattern, etc.
Can I dig on that a bit? And I'm really big on when something triggers you, what was the reason the other person, it either triggered you or the other person. Now, I'm going to think about it. If that woman, for her to be able to walk up and interrupt you and ask about that sentence that she's already read 3 times, let's be honest, right? Like there's a reason. You don't just skim it and then ask. She sat there and thought about it. I believe she has something in here. There's a reason she asked.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, there is...
That whole empathy piece to her, like you'll never know probably unless you chatted to her later. And I know you said she butted in. The wicked bit about that shirt, and you got that on the back, is that would have took some courage to do that. She obviously has something internally. Like this is going back the 180 the other way. Like for her to come and ask you, how do you do that? She's asking for something or trying to find a solution for something. Now that is a really cool thing about what you guys do, and even just having it on your shirt.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And, you interrupted that conversation, but I also engaged with it and had a conversation.
That's awesome.
All right. But what I was going to say, within that, respectful of the individual I was sitting with.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Who looked at me and went, oh, Mo's doing his thing.
Yep.
He knows me well enough, and respectful. But I'm also needing to be respectful of the individual I'm
of course.
conversing with. So there were 2 interplays there, two person interplays. I had the conversation, but also at that point, look, thank you very much. Have a good day. And it was like, okay, talking about parameters, just close that conversation down because I'm here to have this conversation.
Yep.
You can't have 2.
Yep.
All right? Talking of priorities, you can't have 2 priorities.
I like how you compartmalise everything you do. You do it with nearly everything. You probably do it.
But with
but
the
it's
whole
true.
thing,
Yeah.
the whole thing of priorities, okay? I may have spoken to you about this end of last year. I said I don't do busy. I don't like the term busy.
Yep.
I think it fills in space and pumps people's tires up. And whenever someone says I'm super busy or I'm busy, I'm going, okay, fine. That you own that.
So
I don't do busy.
So when you're busy,
I do a lot of.
What are you doing?
I do a lot of stuff.
What's the other word for busy? Why are we busy? And I've done it myself for years, right? Probably that's why I'm divorced. But what is it? Avoidance. It's avoidance from the that you don't want to deal with. No, that is the bottom line of busy. We can be productive. We've got to do. We've got and really we're all busy. And if I don't answer the phone and we don't do something, you're not up on that priority list. And I've been really digging on this whole busy thing a bit, right?
Yeah.
It's like I've done it for years. And you are busy, but it's like a lot of people say it automatically by default. But do they actually intentionally think about when they say it, why they say it? Now, when we're busy and on, a lot of it's avoidance, right? And I've done it myself. And when you start to understand that, and then you talk about being productive and getting done, it changes the whole dynamics 100%. Of that question. It's a really key bit, that whole busy piece for me.
Absolutely.
As well.
And again,
I love that you brought it up.
For people listening in, really, put the handbrake on, think about that.
Yep.
How are you filling your day?
Yep.
Okay. Because with priorities, and I had this conversation in Newman on Friday when I was in Newman.
Did you?
Yep. Class there was, I could sense that she wasn't coping. She was emotionally dysregulated. Okay. So she was sitting there, and I said, "What's up?" And she said, "Oh, I've got this priority and this priority and priority." And I said, "Right, you can only have one priority.
Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna have a list of things that you have to do. All right." And I said, "Right, let's shift this conversation." I said, first of all, I asked, because I'm there very specifically to do work on psychosocial well-being with their leadership team. And it was like, I'm not about to give advice. I don't go into advice mode.
Mm-hmm.
All right? I asked, would you like me to, reframe or give you a reference to work from? And she went, yeah. And the reason I asked that, of course, is that...
Sorry, mate. I don't mean to be rude.
She at that stage was not able to self-regulate.
Yep.
All right? So it was like, okay,
I'm seeing this.
Yeah, I'm seeing this. This is what's happening. And she said, yeah, look, fine. I said, right, look at this objectively. Forget the subjectivity, because the subjectivity I'm seeing at the moment in your behaviour, okay, is around this emotional, this emotional piece. So I said, look, let's be objective about this. Let's put a risk framework around it.
Yep.
All right. So likelihood and consequence. Everyone knows about risks. Likelihood, consequence. Compartmentalise those priorities.
Yep.
Okay. Where does it sit? If it is life-threatening for that individual, and as part of your role in this organisation is to make sure that person doesn't die.
Urgent, important. Yep.
Massive.
Yep.
All right. Because what that then does is, once again, compartmentalise the emotional, subjective piece to now being pure objective. You've gone through the processes. And as a consequence of that, it was like, yeah, okay. And you could just see you go, and I said, like, before you do anything, just take 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Take 5 minutes, get out of the seat and just walk. Go somewhere.
Yep.
And just think through what I've shared with you, what you're thinking through around that, and then what the action is. Okay. What are you going to do differently now, which is also a piece of advice. What are you going to do differently now and not continue repeating? So she went, okay. So she went out and she said, right, okay, I've got 3 priorities. I said, right, put it back into the risk matrix. Which of those 3 is absolutely, you've got to do that now, because the more you're thinking about it, the more priorities you've got, the more busy you are, the less you do.
Correct. I only seen it this morning.
The less you do.
On a reel, and it's like bouncing on 5 things and they go up every time you bounce on them, or bounce on one thing and it'll go up, right? Okay, it was only this morning I seen it.
So Paul, taking that, okay, and if we weave it back into a business that I was involved in, and I was a partner in this business with a married couple. So
can I stop you for a sec? I just want to touch on, before we go too far, the responsibility piece. Before you said about why we do the acts of kindness and why does it fill our cup and why do we do it and why do we help? Now, I'm going to change that a bit, right? There's that, which I think I do less of now, because it's good to do ad hocly, but when you give too much, things change, the dynamics change. But what I did the other day, why I got that message, I think we've got a responsibility. Mm-hmm. If someone's part of my team, or you're a close friend, or you're in my community or yours, be the same as if I thought you're a bit off. I reckon I have a responsibility, and not everyone can do this. I reckon I do, because I've got the personality. I can speak up and I can ask the question, and I have the relationship with you or the other person on the other end of the phone. I don't think it's an act of kindness where I said my world stopped for 10 minutes and I had to problem solve. I've got a responsibility there too, because when you get older and this person's in their late 30s, I'm low 40s, you have less people around you. So what happens? The people that are around you become more important. You get rid of the fluff, but when something happens, that you don't have many people to go to. Now, I know this by this person, right? And even we all know a lot of people and got a lot of friends, but how many do you actually lean on? And I learned this last 2 years getting divorced, right? You actually don't have many, right? And people don't know what you're going through. It's the same with this person. I know that he wouldn't go to probably some 5, 10, 20-year mates, but me and him work very closely together, and I am that person. So I think there's a bit of a responsibility there. Not saying it's on me, and if I don't do it, do you get what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. So
does that make sense?
Responsibility predicated on relationship.
Correct.
Okay, so if the relationship is, however you want to define that, okay, the 1 in 5 people in your orbit, or the 1 in, there's actually a model, and the theory is called...
Or being an employer even.
The model of 150.
Yep.
There's 150.
What's that?
It's a model of 150 people within your life at any one stage.
Yep.
Okay, so if you've got, hypothetically, 150 people in your life that you know, and if you look at it concentric rings from centre to the core 5 people in your life, to what you've just said there, the next five, all the way to the peripheral that you might see once a year. Mm-hmm. They're still in your life.
Yep.
Okay. Their level of influence on you and you on them is predicated on a relationship.
Yep.
The ones that you really spend time with and get you and have your authentic conversations, you're going to spend more time with them.
Yeah, of course.
For multiple reasons.
Yep. And usually environment and your life.
And that waxes and wanes. But if someone then comes into that orbit of 150, there's someone in that orbit of 150 that has to potentially step out.
Yep.
You can only maximise. And this model, by the way, there are individuals who've debunked it as well. But just the notion of you've got so many people that you can.
Yep.
To your point of decades of age, all right, yeah, there are people in my 20s and my 30s and my 40s and my 50s and my sixth decade, 60s, in my 20s and my 30s that I still see.
Yep.
And I've still got very strong relationships with. But that, again, is predicated on the relationship piece.
Yeah, it is.
Do I see them every day, every week? No. There are individuals that I see more frequently now.
Yeah.
Okay? It's circumstance and situation as well.
And go back just to people that you just click with relationship-wise, and I think I said it in the last podcast last week, there'll be people that you don't speak to for 6 months, but you can pick the phone up, or they text you. Like, I've got a couple of mates now, maybe Navy 20 years ago. We still talk when they fly in. I can meet up last minute, but we don't have to talk for 6 months, but no one's got no one cares. Like, we do life. But there's still that relationship is there, like, I could ring and lean on today. It's weird how you got different relationships with everyone.
Not at all. And that absolutely. But I'm going to challenge that, and that challenge is, if you don't invest time, effort, and energy in that individual, but yet in 6 months' time you pick up the phone, and you might be needing to lean in on someone. That to me is that you're not really building, nurturing that relationship.
Geographically, though, causes that a bit too. Yeah.
Okay, so we go back to some of the men's work.
I'm just thinking about my examples, yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah. And this is it. It's not,
good
for me, it's not black and white.
Yep,
okay?
Definitely not.
This is reflective.
Yeah.
It's reflective of the grace of almost 6+ decades. Investing time, effort, and energy. So, you might message someone 5 times a day. Great. Why don't you pick up the phone and give them a buzz? As an example.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter geographically where that individual is.
Yeah.
And again,
that's a personal thing too.
Yeah, look, it is.
It's right.
It is.
It's
and
not
how
black
you
and white.
communicate and what the relationship is. But to that point, when you age, you definitely, for men in particular, that reference circle goes to that.
And
in particular, because when people then are looking at retirement, men are looking at retirement in particular, because back to ego, etc., and work and success and all and sundry, that's referenced, by the work that you do.
I'll just on that whole going like this, right? Like I'm 42.
Yep.
You learn that. I learned that, and I'm a bit of a socialite. Go back a few years. I learned how much it does that last 2 years getting divorced. Significant time. Whether you're going broke, things are going wrong, or you're getting divorced. I think of the 3 things people say. You'll work out who your friends are, who's close to you, and who really can give without wanting something back. Learned that. 3 very close people parted ways with, and I just call it growth. There's no stones being thrown here.
Yep.
Now, the other piece, what I really learned, and this is a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, I got once a month. We maybe start doing it fortnightly, but there's about 6, 7. You get the 6, 7 thing.
Yep.
Lads that I go for dinner with, and everyone on that table, we're not high school sweethearts. We haven't known each other 20 years, maybe one or two each we have, but on that table, the trust and the loyalty and everything sitting at that table there's probably no one else on that from that. It's not on that table
powerful.
that you're that
Super
close.
powerful.
And it's just funny how it changes in life, right? Like, yep, I still got a couple of mates back home that, go back to the 20, 30 year, very close with. But the way my world is now, what I do daily in my environment, the business, the gym, the kids, because it goes with your life wherever it's heading, right? Is who you spend time with, who you text every day, all
Totally.
that. But I just learnt walking away from that table and it's just separating friendships with certain people, but then sitting at that table, how at the moment, could change in a couple of years, and that's the part of the journey in the life and the choices we make. But sitting at that table there, and it's just funny, none of them are like 20, 30-year mates. It's just, I learn a lot from just sitting and thinking about that intentionally. And once again, there's no black and white, there's no right and wrong with this, I don't think.
It's reflective learning.
Yeah.
And this is what authentic leadership is about. At the core of it is, taking time during the day, and generally at the end of the day, for most leaders, is to stop and reflect on, okay, what was it today? How did I show up? How did I, what were the conversations I had? That busy piece, what did I actually achieve?
Yep.
So you're reflecting on that to then hopefully learn.
Yep.
I want to put also another framework around this, and I call it the ABC model.
Mm-hmm.
A is attitude, B is behaviour, C is consequence. Okay, so I'll just repeat that. ABC, attitude, behaviour, consequence.
Yep.
All right. So let me work you through that. Attitudes we can't see. I can't see what's in your head at the present moment.
Yes.
Your values, your emotions, what you're thinking about. And again, back to men's health in particular, we do a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're disconnected from mind to heart, okay? Mind, body. So with that, I can't see that. But what I can see is how you show up. So as a leader, how you show up. If you show up, and I reference it again.
Is this the behaviour bit?
Stormy waters. If you come in stormy waters, okay, as a persona, and you just crash and burn, and there's waves and lightning, and just bring this energy, be it you feel is positive, but for others it could be absolutely demanding and devastating for them. But in particular, if your whole posture, how you come up and how you show up, is dark, how does that make that individual feel?
Yeah.
To then, what is the consequence?
So
the consequence then is the impact. So you can either have your positive, your negative, or your neutral impact.
Read the room and self-awareness is a big piece of that.
100. But go back to then me observing you in the space. All right. So if I was looking at you and you said, Mo, can you just check this out? I want to clarify some stuff that's happening in the team. Okay. First and foremost, you sit and observe. You observe how people position themselves, how they show up.
Yeah.
So from that, if their behaviour is then impacting on you, then what is the consequence? AKA, I'm really not in a good headspace. I'm angry. I'm showing that through the behaviour, and then the consequences are boom. How do you then manage that from a leadership perspective? How do you manage that piece? So attitudes, behaviour, consequence. So how do you show up every day? What's your attitude? What is the one thing that you do every day? What is the one thing that you want to say, yep, this is what I'm going to do? What is the one thing I want to change? Because we know we all need change. People talk about it. Okay, I could have done, I should have started this. What is that one thing you're going to change?
Yeah.
And what is that one thing you're going to continue doing but do it better?
So what I think about when you say this, right, and it's not going into examples and stuff, but it's one of the biggest learnings I think of leadership over the years is I could have 10 things go wrong this morning, and I'm talking business owner here or a manager, but the way you walk into the office, if it's an I game, a me game, and all my problems, other people won't have the safe space or they won't feel comfortable and they'll have walls up.
Correct.
Now, this can be, I believe this is probably why I'm doing this podcast. I'm pretty good at getting people's walls down. Even last week, Trent in here, where he opened up was unbelievable. And it's like, but it's the same when you come in the office. It's the same as me not being in the office the last couple of years. I had churn, right? Because my motivation, energy, and the safe space where people were energized, and also they could come and talk to me, right? I wasn't there to do that. And I learned a lot about that in business, and I learned why my business changed, the structure, the culture. Because not everyone, I probably take it for granted that when I am in the office and I do that I think I'm pretty good at that, but I'm also always trying to learn it and self-reflect on it, right? Because we all f*** it up. Like you might, and then some days you come in, you don't realise, not intentionally, but you might be like in a bad mood, or you might. But as a leader, if you do that, the other people that are looking up to you, or you're working with, I should say, they will put walls up and they'll stop, right? Now, everyone, hence the journey, the book, the chapters of everyone, we all have going on. So as a leader, there's no 9 to 5 anymore. It's really upside down org chart. You're coming in to support your people and be there for them. I think a big piece of leadership is really allowing that space. It's like being at home with your kids. They probably taught me more about this than anything. It's like giving that space, not putting your stuff on them, which it happens all the time in business, right? And it's probably more the physical and outside space that happens a lot in. Allowing that space where an employee or a teammate or someone can come and talk to you. Even with clients, I take my insurance hat off, put the business hat on, or even a personal hat a lot with clients. And they'll ring late at night, or be sitting here and we'll end up talking, not policies, we'll talk this here and like, because why it matters, and for me in business and having a team, is if something's going on the other end of Mitch, it's going to affect the business. It's going to affect the person sitting next to them. It's going to affect you because they won't communicate and they're being a different person. Yep. So go back to, how do I get them to speak? And it's not about going, hey, Mo, you need to tell me what's going on, because they're not going to, because no one does. But if I allow, when I come in the morning, it's positive, it's about them, how's your day, how's your morning, and you ask the simple questions. And you can probably go a lot deeper on this, right? I'm just talking from my experience. That there is one of the most key strengths you can do as a leader or learn on, constantly evolve on, I think. because, and it comes back to the culture piece, starting with the top.
Absolutely. So predicating all that again is relationships.
Yep.
And what is the relationship that you have with yourself? So me, before you can have a relationship with anyone else.
Yep.
And hence the reference stormy waters. So if you as a person come in, as a storm, you're just going to dump. You're going to dump water on everyone. It's going to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
Some people thrive in water. Okay.
Yep.
For some it's a cleansing process. Great, but that cleansing process is wrapped up
in their own space though.
But it's also wrapped up with from a notion of care. It's not a notion of I'm here because I've got my shit and I'm going to now shift that negative energy into you. So the whole space becomes a negative energy. But in referencing your business and the journeys that you had, I've had multiple episodes in my life. Some of which you're not across, but I was in a business relationship for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I reference that as doing my MBA, my Harvard MBA in business, and that partnership I was a director of, and I had one share. There were 3 partners. We each had one share. Unfortunately, in my late 20s, I was absolutely wet around the ears.
Yep.
Hence
Yep.
the Harvard Business School,
Of course.
reference. They were a married couple, and the conversations they had, pillow talk, I wasn't privy to, obviously, but I wasn't able to achieve what I potentially could have achieved because I had the 1 vote reference, they had the 2 votes. So anything major, they'd generally vote 2 to 1. So I had a 25% share in the business. 5 years, blood, sweat and tears, major projects nationally. I was FIFO national. One gig was a 7-week gig where I was away from home.
Mm-hmm.
There were chunks of that 5 years of memory I can't recall.
Yeah.
Because I was doing so much. I was busy. I was doing so much.
Yeah.
Responsibility as a director, responsibility as the director of education, training, delivery, client, but then also the team, the young team.
Mm-hmm.
That by nature of the program, they came on that journey with me, and I had to look after them. So not only was my energy delivering 14-hour days, one-on-one stuff in particular.
So just on that window, how old were you then, sorry?
I was late 20s, 30s.
30s, okay. So we're starting to go into 30s now. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and I want to reference the business piece because that to me was a fantastic opportunity, incredible. But I experienced a lot of micro traumas, and I want to throw that into the conversation.
So they were your roadblocks?
They were definitely roadblocks, massive roadblocks. And with that, at the back end of that 5 years, the realisation from my partners that their marriage wasn't going well, and they've subsequently separated. But that stormy waters really impacted me from being on the farm, seeing my parents, the whole piece of relationship. I'm viewing these behaviours and I'm going, holy, it's confronting. It actually impacted on me and my well-being. Okay, that was one episode. There have been multiple episodes. Mm-hmm. But that in particular, because at the back end of 5 years, the opportunity for me to take this business, step it up. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. But I pivoted. And this is one of the 32 years of age, one of the major pivots in my life. Having delivered 5 years, almost rearing a child. And then all of a sudden that child is no longer my child. Mm-hmm. It's gone. I pivoted, and the conversation I had with the then director of HSC, this company that we're delivering the program to, I had a conversation with him. I said, look, I know we're looking at extending the program to an extra year. Great, but just for your FYI, I won't be part of that. This is what's happening. I'm stepping away from the partnership. I will no longer be that person assisting your organisation. He said, Mo, we don't have a relationship with your business. We have a relationship with you.
Yep.
Again, a really powerful.
Can I just want to touch on something there. Sorry to interrupt. So 5 years, build it, for whatever reasons, there was roadblocks, right?
Massive roadblocks.
And after 5 years, you're like, personal feelings, things happening, stormy waters, all that stuff. You've bred, grew this baby, right? Three of you, was it? Yep. That's always hard. And then to make that decision, the nights before you made that decision, these are the bits, because these are the bits that I resonate with. The weeks coming up to making that decision, and you don't just make it overnight. You know it's coming, and you think, the decision may be to split, and I've done it myself actually. How did you feel? How did your gut feel? Like there's pride, there's ego, there's all the time. You think you're going to waste it, even though you're not, because we'll go into probably where you pivoted.
Yep.
But before you go into the outcome, which is probably a great thing, how did you feel coming up to making that decision that I'm going to part ways if it wasn't forced?
Okay.
But even so.
Well, the flip side, it was forced.
Yeah, okay.
It was like the business was draining. What the revenue that was being generated at the time was being drained out by secondary and tertiary add-on businesses, okay, which weren't core. Another thing, expanded, referencing, utilising the money as cash flow for the other businesses. All of which were amazing in themselves, but they were amazing in themselves, and they required their own profit loss. They required their own system, all of that. So the central business, which I was predominantly responsible for, was funding. So it got to the point that the two owners, my partners said, that's it, we can no longer continue this. We're going to start shutting down the business over the next 6 months. And I thought, okay, but then what? Where do I sit in this? Because I've given my time, effort, energy, etc. Born this figurehead, the whole piece, because I was the one that was delivering most of the programs. So how I was feeling at the time was, again, shock was there, definitely. Okay, survival mode, what do I do? I've given birth to, now what?
It's all the risks.
And ego, success, here we are, this is great, fantastic. Well, we'll give you, here it is. And I was like, okay, right. So in my head, I've already moved. I'm no longer at
Departure lounge,
No, correct. No longer train station number 3. I'm in train station number 7. And part of that in particular was relationship pieces with the clients, similar to yourself. It's the me why. So in my head, I'd started moving forward, and as part of that conversation with this client, which was a major client, I had the conversation. I said, look, this is what's happening. I will no longer be. I'm stepping down from a director of. And so this whole stepping into discomfort, some would say, absolutely not, because I knew what I needed to do. Again, motivation, drive. I knew what needed to happen. I knew this could morph into a hybridized program, build it. And by the way, company X, you don't need an external. I can be your internal consultant. So the pivot was being an external to then being an
What was the risks
to
making this shift?
To the whole business itself, minor insofar that we were closing the business down. All right, the realisation, no, I'm not going to continue 6 months down the track, delivering falsely to, and also then be part of it. I didn't want to be part of it. I had got to a point through all these micro traumas, okay, exhaustion was coming in, burnout was on the horizon. I'm going to have this moment where I pivot, 3-month hiatus. I stepped down, closed out my part, 3 months hiatus. My lawyer at the time, who's an old school friend of mine, said, Mo, you've just got to reinvent yourself. And I said, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Spend the 3 months creating what you want to create, which I did.
Let me touch on that. That's awesome. Love it. So you got the roadblocks. You've been through that chapter, that journey. Then obviously there's a window. There's the risks, obviously, which you probably didn't have a choice, but you had to take. But there's all risks there. And what do you do next? You're talking to a significant client. You take the 3 months, and you had to reinvent yourself. Now, when you go the roadblocks, the risks, and the journey you were on there, and then you reset where you would have become there and the learnings you would have got out of them previous peaks 100%. And the resilience you would have got then. 100%. It's like once you kicked off and you're forward momentum, you're through the front windscreen, not the rear view mirror, your resilience then, and it would have been like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, but so we now reference it as emotional resilience. Okay, what you learn not to repeat.
And the micro traumas, they would have been
powerful.
They would have been a big piece of this resilience piece, because what happens after all, whatever type of trauma, and I'm telling you how to suck eggs here, is when you reflect, you go, they've got me where I am today, or that moment, and you go, I got through it. So then, if you ever have to deal with them again, you're a bit tougher and stronger and more resilient.
You are to a certain level. Okay. So in that situation, contract signed, sealed, delivered, very much. Thank you very much. I'm now a contracted employee. Okay, so a very different commercial relationship. At the time, my two partners then came after me, of course.
Oh, did they? Yep.
Yeah. We were going to have mediation, and I still recall the time I was working. And my wife represented me at this mediation session. The two of them said, "Well, where's Mo?" "Well, he's working." It's like, no, there's no mediation. He's out of the organisation.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what you do with it.
Yep.
Okay. Divvy it up as you do, which they absorbed. They channeled monies. Anyhow, there's a whole other chapter there. But all that's negative. So back to the positive. No, he's fine. He's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about him. You know, they play this passive aggressive piece. Here I am, 2 years on. Okay, this organisation, by the way, you know, global financial crisis, and all sorts of stuff is happening. Those bust and peak cycles over the last 30 years. Got this organisation to zero LTFI, reduction in insurance premiums. Workers' compensation went from 500,000 down to literally nothing. Huge KPIs.
Yep.
But you know what, Paul? That wasn't my driver. My driver was self-worth.
Yep.
I'm going to show up. I'm going to do this. But also, the who me is I'm going to support individuals in this organisation to be their best.
Yep. Go back to filling your cup. You've gone and left that 5 years, right? You didn't go to the mediation. It's like, no, Mo's got to work, but he's going to work and still doing what he loves doing.
And hybridised.
Yep.
So this is Mo Program 2.
Yep.
All right, and there are Mo Programs 2, 3, 4 and 5.
And then now there's Momo Program 2.
Momo extend absolutely all moments in time.
Moments in time.
There's a whole
Plenty of them
around those moments in times. But
so how old were you then?
So that was in my early.
You're working for the
30s.
HSC company. They went broke.
Early 30s.
Early 30s.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward a bit.
Yeah. So so to then, okay, thinking, I can add an additional year, but no, that organisation then had started to right size, and of course, as a 2-year contractor, thank you very much. Doesn't matter what you did, how you performed. This is the sting. How you performed, how you impacted. You're a number. On that spreadsheet.
Yeah, of course.
All right, and that's cool.
That's business.
That's cool. But from that, I'd had 2 years of experience developing this program, which, by the way, then for the next 4 years, I actually went out to market and had some major clients.
Yeah, how good.
And delivered, and collaborated, et cetera, to the 4-year point. Now we're in our mid-30s, late 30s, where exhaustion starts to kick in, as a consultant. And an opportunity arose where what I'd created was literally brought into a major organisation where I delivered, but I also then became more commercially astute.
Ah, nice.
So I've had this technical road, but this commercial road, and they're parallel to each other.
Yep.
But again...
So your commercial side ended up parallel and ended up catching up the knowledge, the experience, the focus.
And then became who I was. So from there to sort of 40s, the 40 decade, so that decade leading up to 50, which is the moment, which I'll talk about. Lots of different experiences, opportunities. Another organisation, multidisciplinary engineering company, global footprint, doing some amazing work here in Perth, some major projects in the resource sector. Again, global financial, right-sized the organisation. At the time, supposedly I was being performance managed by a manager who wasn't coping. Okay, only for within two weeks of that conversation, his role and other roles were made redundant. So executives, I was sub-executive at the time.
Just touch on, just for a bit of clarity, the program. Give me in a few words what the program was that evolved. Obviously, it was
the program. The program was called Back Safe. The business was called Back Safe Australia.
Yep.
And it was fundamentally prevention of musculoskeletal injuries in the workplace.
Yep.
Okay, so that was it. What I added to it was a behavioural lens.
Yep.
And a well-being lens. Okay, so it then grew from pure musculoskeletal to fitness well-being, which is again the training,
so physical, behavioural,
all of which.
Yep.
So behaviour,
and then
behaviour-based
wellness. Yep.
Human factors, ergonomics. The
How
whole
good.
Thing. It was shaping, but in the time where a lot of this was still experimental.
Yep.
So
the reason I asked you that question is so it was the physical side, which I didn't know that when you were first talking. That's why I asked. Then you got the behavioural, and then you got the wellness side, right? So, but like say when you were 30, then 40, then 50, like that space, even to now, how much it's just like, and how much more needed it's needed,
Incredible.
whether it's a white collar, office,
Incredible.
physical, mining resource, does not fucking matter.
Doesn't matter.
Like over that
Doesn't matter
time,
the
you would
colour
have
of your
seen
shirt.
it just get, because we're getting more educated around it. And like, I talk about workers' comp all the time, early intervention. Before there's even a claim, it's like,
Correct.
like
Preemptive prevention.
getting, understand, build trust and educate with clients on prevention and what it comes back to the culture piece and how you walk in the morning. Like, to if someone's going to have a bit of an attitude or take a shortcut or end up injuring himself, like, and then look after himself, wellness at home, like it's all so relevant. But I think it's shifted so much in my last 20 years, like being Navy to where I am.
Sure.
But going back to where you were 30, 40, 50 and working on these programs, how much that would have evolved and how much more people need it now more than ever is absolutely crazy.
There were huge moments in time.
Yep.
Where I know a number of occasions, but one in particular.
Yep.
Part of the program was a one-on-one consultation, and it was a lifestyle-ish wellbeing consultation, which then also had a look at what people were doing at work. So human factors ergo. It was really quite advanced in its time. It's what we now refer to as psychosocial wellbeing.
Yep.
Okay. Safety and or wellbeing. That's where psychological safety wellbeing has born itself from ergonomics, from issues with industrial repetitive strain, RSI, etc.
Yep.
That's its precursor to what the legislation is now. It's legislation, strip it back to, duty of care, putting the care back into that duty of care. So at the time,
I don't think that's talked about enough either.
Oh, look, and we could spend a whole bunch of time.
Maybe another time we actually
around,
do this.
Around your business as well, and how the two link in. But that one situation where I had the pro forma, this is what I got to do, so metrics, I've got to count and blah, 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 and demonstrate, justify, this one individual.
2 secs. Mindset and well-being. Can you write that down for me? I have some crazy idea, Mo, actually.
Yeah, we can
keep going, sorry.
We can have a chat.
No, nothing today.
But at that moment in time, all right, this is why I reference now moments in time, that moment in time, reflect back on being there, being able to have that conversation with him. And by the way, didn't go through the pro forma. I said, hey, just park there. How about we go around and just walk the site? Let's just walk the site. Let's take that 40 minutes for me to get to know you and to understand what's happening.
Yep.
I saved that man's life.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, so on that one occasion.
Yep.
Let alone all the other occasions.
Give me these ones.
Yeah. Let alone all the other situations. Because
Yep.
again,
Oh,
you don't know the ripple effect. So that was, and I'm going to sort of fast track from that.
it's amazing.
To all within this, what's happening are also experiences of micro trauma. And the micro trauma, which then led to the macro trauma. And I need to speak to this.
Yep.
And this is the shared moment with you. And that was predicated once again on my values, corporate values, and the clash between the two.
Wow.
All right.
Yep.
So building. This is all the episodes, the learning, the resilience pieces around that. So at age 50, okay, top of the heap, I'd gone back to do some more study in and around this space. So organisational psychology, 25 years in the fitness wellbeing industry, okay, and I got headhunted for this role as a director of the then largest employee assistance program service provider.
Yep.
Who had bought out the largest competitor here, local, to then combine the two into this massive entity.
Beast.
That was pretty well my job. So, wow, what an opportunity. I'm going to be able to really make an impact here.
Yeah, make a difference.
At the end of the day, everything, my life has been around impact, social impact.
Yep.
Right, individual.
You talk about this a lot, actually, and you taught me a lot about the social impact. Can I just touch on something what you just said? And I love buttoning because it resonates with me a couple of points. I rang you for a favour in a meeting about 12 months ago, over 12 months ago, and it was to do with a charity I was helping someone with, and talking about the charity and what to do, and I've never really been behind or organised one. It turned out a really good outcome, but the biggest piece that sits with me, just going back, is like, Paul, you can do it once, you probably don't make that much money, and even if you do, what's the social impact? Like whether it's the money piece, the message on the night, and you're like, it's like, are you going to keep doing it? What happens over the next couple of years? And you just shifted my whole mindset. And I've got a logo with a charity symbol. I'd love to one day do it whenever the time's right. And I think that moment was big for me when you were like, we can all do charities, go and have an event, a conference, do an auction, do it, raise money. But there's this whole other piece you taught me about the social impact of, hence, you with Happiness Co. and you've been, I think what year was the Footy for Life when I sponsored you there?
God,
now, when I go
we
back
haven't
to
gotten to that yet.
Yeah, when I go back to this stuff
histories.
though, you know this, you're my go-to for this stuff. Since that conversation, I really realised all this stuff you do and the social impact, which is a big part of what you do in life, is I never looked at it like that. Now, when I talk or hear or if I'm going to be involved in it like that, stop and go, what is the social impact? And it's epic, honestly. So, sorry, go back to your story because I want to hear it.
And it's super powerful. And,
huge.
And we do need to unpack.
And does it move the needle or not? Like, what's the impact? Yeah.
That is the reason why now.
Yep.
Okay, without a doubt.
Sorry, keep going with your
so
50.
Did that, had the interview with the CEO, admired her for who she presented herself to be. Within the next 8 months, I was really struggling with culture, with values, with mixed messaging.
Alignment.
Largest EAP.
Yep.
So employee assistance program, people who will support an employee when they're struggling. That was me. Huge struggling to the point where I lost an incredible amount of weight, and I was sitting in a meeting with a client. I looked down, my fly was undone, my belt was my button was undone because I'd lost so much weight.
Yep.
Okay, and trying to keep it all together. And this is a whole story in itself, but I will condense it, because at that moment I realised that I really wasn't coping, and all these micro traumas over the years, all these value clashing, etc., was me continuously fighting.
I can deal with it because I don't.
I can deal with it. I'm going to pivot it. I'm going. My
this was the next level.
Blah blah blah. I'm going to matrix the whole piece.
Yep.
But the reality is, you get to a level.
You're at your glass ceiling.
That ceiling level at age 50. Tick tick tick. Did it all great. This is what I'd been working towards.
Yep.
You could not find a better role. Talk about impact, community, etc. At that time that I thought at age 50.
The humbling moment, the realisation of, because what we think when we get there like that, I think it happens to all of us, that there is so significant, was one of your biggest pivots, I'm guessing, right, and learnings. I couldn't imagine how you felt at the time, especially knowing like your mindset and losing weight.
Age 50.
Yeah.
At age 50, all
yep.
right? You've hit it, okay? You've really, here I am.
Yep.
I've made it. Whether that was self-motivation, Fifth Format Cup, ego, definitely ego part of that.
Yep.
But then 8 months into it, I'm on sick leave.
Wow.
Not formal. I went and saw my doctor and said, this is what's happening. 2 days beforehand, I'm in a fetal position at home.
Yep.
Okay, crying, just not coping.
Wow.
So huge amount of, this is my whole being shift.
Yep.
My why. The doctor said, this is what's happening. I said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'll need to put you on medication. Okay, under a mental health plan. 50, clean bill of health. Live the well-being, right? That whole.
I was about to say, and you're
clean
living
well-being.
that.
It's a huge. We're talking monumental. I mean, this is big. And what I want to share today is that even through that, I'll hold the term here. I'm not the victim.
Yep.
I didn't go into victim mode. Far from it. I was a victim all the way through that 3 decades worth of lots of stuff happening around the work and the micro traumas. This was the macro trauma. It was an episodial anxiety attack, which led into depression, which then led into suicide ideation, led into setting up a plan, having the plan ready to execute, tipping point. All right, so that's that part, and I'm really condensing. But part of that, and this is really, really important for everyone to just to realise, there is a processor system, and that process system, GP, mental health plan, okay, talk therapy, okay, even psychologists living in that space, EAP. I mean, this is a clusterfuck happening, seriously, upon reflection. To then three session conversation with a therapist, which, by the way, by the way, I mean, sorry, the role. Well, I was made redundant. The role wasn't made redundant. I was made redundant. But I was in such a state. I was not coping to be able to go. Well, hang on a minute. This isn't right. This is what I had shut down. Totally shut down. To the point of, fuck, I'm 50 now. I've just reached. This is who I am. I'm spending 65, 70 hours a week, caring for people, caring for others, not caring for myself.
I mentioned just before about being selfish to be selfless. I think there's a really, really big key part, and or you can put it, caring about for everyone else except for yourself. And I think nearly everyone that loves helping others and giving goes through this point, because you end up not looking after yourself. But like we're talking here, like you've done psychology in your 20s back in a generation that probably wasn't fucking thought of or wasn't too common. You've done the exercise physiologist, and then you combine them to you've been at the top of the game with your aerobics. You've travelled to Japan. You open up centres. You're constantly giving the other way, being that support person through your journey. You had so many wins, and then your ideal scenario would be and key job, and I think we all have this until we don't. Is that whole EAP, be a director, be part of that, merge two companies, like you're at the top of your game, you're 50, you're smart, I think we know that in your 20s and 30s and 40s, we all change and mature. At your 50, you're at your pinnacle. You weren't just a tradie or someone else. You're in that space, living the wellness and the self-care and all of it. And no doubt it's changed now. But back then, when it wasn't talked about as much and done as much as it is now, and then you go into that role, for that role, and then you end up with a mental breakdown, I'll just say that, or, struggles and walls and roadblocks, trauma, major trauma, after putting the minor traumas and learning resilience. But this point here, and I think going back to what you said earlier, you've learnt the resilience, so then you ignore yourself even more. Now, that is the catch-22 that you said earlier, that it's great because we learn we can get through it. The problem is you ignore yourself more. Now, that's a nugget. Because the more, and I think I've done it as well, you're like, fuck it, I can get through it because I've always got through 100%. It. But then you ignore 100%. Yourself more. 100%. You've gone into your key role that if anyone asks you, this is where I am at, and that's the one that broke you. And the support for an EA company, the support for an EA company, Employment Assistant Program company, major, doesn't have the EAP piece that it needs to have, I believe, from what you said. Now, I'll let you continue.
For its 2 IC. So I was three of the 2 ICs, reporting directly to the CEO.
You're just blowing my mind.
Yeah,
blowing my mind, but anyway.
And because this is part of the space that you occupy in regards to workers' compensation, et cetera, this was 13 years ago, all right? So monumental 50. The brain chemistry at the time was absolutely shot, and hence why the whole ideation towards suicide. As part of that, the realisation is, like, I've got to talk to a therapist. Holy shit, what's that all about?
Yep.
Here I'm in the space, helping people, having to now...
And you've gone, oh, shit.
So this whole well-being, the northern, what is it referenced? How your whole moral compass is pointing north. It was totally shot. It actually shifted off its axis. So how I live my life is shifted to the point of what transpired. A couple of days, doctor said, yep, a couple of days is, I've shut down. I know what the issues are. I'm disassociating from it, taking phone calls from the CEO, who was a large part of this, to then get a message on Sunday when one of the other directors is coming over and is going to have a conversation with you on Monday. Now, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to realise that. So this my colleague, who I've only got to know over 8 months, who's a psychologist, by the way, comes in and delivers the note. And that note is that, your role as of now is you are made redundant. And here's the letter, and here's the compensation. And by the way, golden handcuffs. So it's like, but in particular, resilience, going to do. It's a whole story around that, which needs unpacking another time. But I went from being who I was to literally nothing.
How much
which included 60 to 65 hours a week trying to manage this major project and people. So two businesses. My two.
What did that do for your purpose or self-worth?
My two. I'll come back to that. So my two ICs. Okay, one was the clinical lead. So looked after all the clinicians. I wasn't across this until I came on board. Was being performance reviewed. So I inherited that. Number one. Number two, the operations lead, who obviously went for this role but didn't quite make it, to my face said, "This is this amazing company, the best." Within 2 months, she resigned and stepped out.
Just
of
for perspective, how many employees in this company, like nationally or globally?
Well, I can't speak to national global, but here in WA, it would have been 25.
Yeah, okay. Just for perspective, I'm just trying to piece together.
Yeah. Cool.
So it's substantial, yeah. And that's just
huge,
WA.
Huge.
And they're national, yeah?
Yeah.
Global?
Major. Now part of a global.
Yeah. So,
But, risk mitigation, she had a job to do. How she did it, the CEO to me, how that was communicated, how that left me feeling, that's the part that is like, wow, could have gone into victim mode. I shared this with someone the other week when I was on site. I storytelled this episode, but condensed. And this supervisor came up to me and said, wow, what a powerful story. I can't believe you didn't go into victim mode. And I stopped there and then and I thought, you know what? Never.
Yep.
All these episodes, never victim mode. Never. I'm
Yep.
survivor, if anything.
Yep.
Survivor. Okay, next 13 years, what does that look like? Within a 10-year period, so fast track to ish now, so 50 to 60, three redundancies, let alone having to restart on a somewhat lower level because cognitively I was still trying to recover.
Can I just, something comes to me, right? When I seen a life coach 18 months ago, something she taught me, and I want to ask you this. So I'm really big on not being the victim as well, right? And there's another chat, relationship with my mum and all that kind of stuff, and it's about the victim mentality. And I try and understand it a lot more for various reasons to do with family and myself. And I always say I don't have it either. I use everything as a driver, glass half full as much as you can. Not every day, but, it's how you get yourself back out of, say, today was a bad moment. It's like dig your heels and get back out of it, right? Now, something that really got me to slow down and reflect, you don't have to be a victim, but you do have to appreciate and give yourself self-compassion.
Oh, totally.
Self-compassion.
Totally,
and she
totally,
said
totally.
it to me one day. It gave me a tear.
Yep.
Was it? He does now. Yeah. It was at the end of a session, and it was the last 2 minutes, and she said it to me in a way, and it just resonated with me, and I left. This is about 18 months ago, a year ago, and I left, and I'm like, wow, no one's ever taught me that self-compassion bit, because we always talk about the victim and the drivers and because I go back to my childhood, and the micro-traumas and all that.
Yeah.
Now, you got hitting that at 50, it's like from then, and I kind of know where this story's going to go, I think, because I know you, but it's not about not being a victim, but it's about learning to appreciate yourself and where you've been.
100%.
To have them as fresh drivers, I believe, now probably more than ever, a little bit woohoo maybe, is that you went through that and hit that point when you're 50 for a reason, because it's why you're going to do good now. I know that's a whole lot, but that self-compassion piece.
Absolutely.
And if you don't give yourself self-compassion, you be hard on yourself, because that's what we do as business owners and drivers or corporate. We're successful, and I don't mean money there. I just mean like always trying to win and evolve. Is you be hard on yourself and you self-judge a lot, and then you'll ignore a lot of it, and it comes back from survival pieces, and drivers will drive you. But you do need to stop and go, look what I've been through, look what I've done. And it's not about being a victim. There's a line there, I believe. Tell me what you think on that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So self-compassion.
Yep.
Okay. Self-care. Self-love.
Yep.
Okay. The three common term there is self. All right. When you're not me, I. Okay. You're not doing that. Then this can't happen. Then the community can't.
Yeah.
Happen. All right. So being kind to yourself. All right. Compassion. Being kind. Is fundamental. And if you're not kind to yourself and you're constantly battling that, then okay, what can we do about it? How do we shift that? So 13 years down the track. All right, and there's multiple other episodes.
Mate, I've got to say one more thing. 2 secs. You can blow my mind away today. To be kind to yourself, right? The bit I've learnt, we self-sabotage, which is not being kind.
Correct.
Now, the point I want to make here, right, is that 95% of our brain is subconscious and 5% is the conscious piece. Now, our subconscious, which is 95%, roughly, whatever the percentage is created by not our own choices growing up and through our journey. It's other environments and people. You've got to kind of start to understand that, so then you can get rid of the self-sabotage bit, which, you know, I've been learning a lot about. Yep. And it's like to go back to be the kind piece, right? And then understand, you know, like your micro-traumas and your traumas that you go through. You peel the layers back, hence working out why we are where we are today and the resilience we got from the risks and the roadblocks, right? Yeah. So anyway, sorry, keep going.
And that's why this, you know, when you asked me to, you know, to come on board, you know, part of me was thinking, okay, what is it?
Yep.
What's the conversation going to be? But that says it all. It is about the journey.
Yep.
And knowing that, you know, these episodes in your life, however you want to measure them, leads to where you are now.
Yeah.
And the piece is, I'm here 13 years after the potential of taking my life.
Yep.
Okay. And that was really scary. Super, super scary.
Wow.
But the brain...
Thanks for sharing that.
Absolute pleasure. The brain chemistry at the time was absolutely shot. And this is what happens when you're trying to cope and you think you're coping and you keep finding more and you keep pulling that energy, that motivation, that who you are, you know, that piece, and a bit of it's ego-driven, but that is who you are, the core of who you are. And when that is stopped, and it's stopped handbrake like you've hit a wall, okay?
Yep.
And that wall was put up in front of you by a third party, and you had no way of going up, around, through, you had to stop. Now I had to stop.
Yep.
I absolutely had to stop. But then I had to reframe. And this is the piece that's really important for this conversation, is don't let that define who you are. If anything, reframe around it, and then use all that, who you are, to then slowly rebuild. So I had to slowly rebuild to the point of where I am now.
Yep.
And it's still a journey, that's for sure.
Yep.
Every day it's a journey.
Yep.
And there's a big piece to that. So reframe it and know that from that point, don't let that define who you are now. So don't let that define you as a victim, okay? But as a survivor. And that was, again, a couple of weeks back, that conversation with that supervisor on site. You know, she said, wow, this is so powerful. 32-year-old getting her head around leadership and what it means to be a supervisor. And she said, I can't believe that, you know, Vic. I went, I've never thought of that in that reference.
Yep.
I talk about, and I'm part of the Momentum Revolution workshops that I co-facilitate with this amazing man called Dr. Brett Deller.
Are you talking about the ones down south?
Yeah.
I actually had that in my head to bring it up with you.
Their weekend experiential growth.
Yep. You know, do you just want to touch on that quickly?
Yeah, I will do.
We won't sit on it too long because there's plenty, but just tell us a little bit about that.
For the last 5 years, pre-framing that. So 5 years back, I was working in my role with mates in construction.
Yep.
Okay, and I think that's sort of where we, if not a little bit before, I think it was around there. So mates in construction, amazing organisation, focused on prevention of suicide in the workplace, in particular in the day, construction, but now they've grown that. Amazing formula, you know, what they deliver. One of the most powerful education workshops that I've ever done, a 2-day suicide prevention program. Absolutely unbelievable. Guys, doing a great job. Where was I going with that, Paul? So 5 years back, this is a situation
down south
with Momentum Revolution.
The doctor.
So I was there, I was seeing my chiropractor, and my chiropractor, unbeknownst to myself, was part of that cohort. So he was a mentor on crew, as they call it. And we were talking about the stuff I was doing, mates in construction. He said, Mo, I'm sure you'd love this workshop, you know. And I'm going, yeah, okay, fine. And long story short, had the phone call with Brett, and I said, Brett, thank you. If you're okay with me coming on this 2-day, 2.5-day, you know, workshop as an observer, fantastic, because I do this. This is the stuff I do. This is how I've lived my life to this point. So again, sliding door opportunity. Door opened, boom, went straight into it.
Yep.
Attended, participated, but observed. Participated, but observed. And one of the critical pieces itself, you go through this journey. And I said, guys, I don't need to do that. I've done that. I know who I am, where I am at.
Yep.
A lot of the men in that 2.5 day don't. They're struggling.
Yep.
Funny enough, not so funny, age norm, 35 to 55, 60.
Yep.
Okay.
Life's much in the face.
And absolutely. I sat there and because I'd been delivering, and so I sat there and I went, "Oh, this is great. Okay, you could do that better." So anyhow, long story. Once again, at the back end of it, we had the conversation with Brett, and he was then organising the next. And he said, "Mo, I'd love for you to be a mentor." And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, absolutely." So I volunteer my 2.5 days.
Yep.
Twice, 3 times a year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. 2-3 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. What's it called?
It would be or should be bi-monthly. Seriously.
Yep.
The number of men, okay,
Yep.
who should and would benefit from, should go and would benefit from. It is transformation. Of anything I've done.
What's it called?
It's called Momentum Revolution.
So was it Momentum before? Is it just coincidental?
No, I know, isn't that
Or did you
bizarre?
change the name?
No, well, you know.
So it was Momentum before?
My birth, I know.
The universe does a funny thing, doesn't it?
It's like that. And don't reference it. I say Momentum Revolution, not Momentum Revolution.
Momo.
I cannot take, any credit, bar the fact that I co-deliver.
Yep.
I'm one of the
I was actually going to go on it last year, but I couldn't because I had my kids, and it was about wasn't it on Father's Day or something? Like, what was the date?
One of
It was one of the significant dates, and
that's right.
And I had my kids. I was like, Mo, I'm going, like, because he asked me the year before, and I couldn't.
Devo.
But anyway, I'd love to go on it one day.
And
we could all learn, I think.
100%. And the awesome thing about this is, everything I do,
Community relationship.
with the guys. So there are generally 8 or 10 guys.
Yep.
And who participate, and there are generally 8 to 10 mentors, so one-on-one within the 2.5 days, which is really important because again, connections, we connect differently with different people. Okay.
Yep.
But that is transformational.
Momentum Revolution.
100% transformational. It is.
Yep.
I can no longer, I can't talk more so than what I've just done in the work that Brett does through this and the team does through this is unbelievable. Talk about building a healthy community.
Yep.
There are so many men who have gone through it now, 5 years, some of whom I call my best friends.
Yeah, awesome.
My best mates.
How good.
They're actually brothers.
Yep.
Okay, we throw around the band around the term brothers. These men are brothers who experienced. In fact, coming in here, I was listening to Hey Brother Amici.
Yep.
To pump the wheels a
Yep.
bit. All right?
Nice.
It anchors us down because without our brothers, and we lose so many men to suicide, we've got to stop it.
Yeah.
We really do.
So,
and that's part of the why. So we don't at Happiness Co. and the foundation where I'm at now. So through that, I was at Mates, and I looked over the fence one day, and so 4 years back, looked over the fence, and this group were doing this amazing stuff called the Happy Stuff. Okay, and I was thinking, what the hell? Imagine calling your company Happiness Company, HAPCO, shortened. Just like, cool. And they were doing some amazing stuff around social media and stuff. And I went, wow. Because we were occupying at Mates in construction and suicide. That's the conversation. And it's a tough conversation, but boy, we need it. So I'm now going to go back to where my roots are, which is the prevention, prevent.
Yep.
I'm at Mates in Construction doing some amazing stuff out here, the crew, running our social impact, running our programs, as in community-based programs, etc. Which included the laps around Barbagallo racetrack. Again, amazing community.
I've done that before. It's pretty cool.
It was cool, but riding for a mate, prevention suicide. Just the networking community, how that happened. That's a whole other story. But it happened, which was great. So looked over the fence, managed to say to Jules, who's the founder of Happiness Co., hey, you know what? We need to have a chat. Love what you guys are doing. Don't know if we can collab.
Yep.
But
Just
whatever.
cool.
Just
Let's chat.
to know. Just to know. Because no competition in mental health and well-being.
No, correct.
But there is.
But when you can combine, there is. Is that right?
Why? Absolutely. That's a whole nother story. But I want to clearly state now there should be no competition.
I love that point.
From a product, service, delivery, positioning, brand, whatever, the focus isn't on it's on the we, us. It has to be. Because if you're focused again, ego,
And
your
8 billion
business,
people in the world, there should be no competition on it.
and we're still losing people to
Yep.
suicide.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
still have got
True.
this major bank up situation, mental health, a whole.
Yep.
That's a whole, again, another conversation. So let's park that and see what we can do. And so had a chat with Julian, and it was amazing. I said at the back end of that, Jules, because he was talking about setting up a charity. I said, well, when you set up your charity, I'm going to be on your board.
Yep.
And he went, okay. Fast track. I was on the board. I was on the board for 3 years. And then 18 months back, I stepped down from the board into a strategic operational role in
Nice.
the foundation. So I could do so much advising on a month or 6 weekly basis. But boy, oh boy, what can I do if
When
I'm
you're in a
there
role.
day in, day out, operationally, roll the sleeves out. A lot of colleagues, friends, etc. said, wow, that's a huge shift from being through your journey to where you were, okay, to being a board, on the board, and people go, well, this is sort of your pinnacle of who you are.
You want to talk about social impact, like
That, seriously, boards, whole nother story. Impact, where
it
can you
matters.
make the big impact?
Yep.
And by
Where
the
do you
way,
move the needle?
hugely so.
Yep.
Hugely so. So
We just, a few minutes ago, obviously hit home, just thinking about it. You shared something pretty significant with us. Now, how, just like in a few words, the micro traumas to your big major event at 50, real big personal share there, which I appreciate heaps. How is that? That is obviously put you where you are today. It's a big piece of where you are today. Give me the connection there on the positive side, which I know you will because you always do the glass half full. Like I say that you probably went through that because you learnt so much and you build a different resilience, but you also like the social impact and the give now. Like you're like, I'm on a board for 3 years, but it, where can I move the needle? Jump into a strategic role. Like
that's
your
sort of
journey, your book, your chapters, like
Yeah.
where you are now, doing that for the last 18 months.
yeah, it's incredibly powerful.
Yep.
But as literally a startup foundation, okay, and we're a small foundation, big name brand out in the marketplace, or so we feel, so we think. But
Fantastic too. Happiness
but
go, by the way.
still, thank you. But still, we're still a grassroots, unlike the Black Dogs or Lifeline. I mean, we're doing the stuff.
Can I comment on this? I don't know a lot about it. I've probably learned more from you and Julian, and just like I follow a lot of it. Even just a couple of days ago, Julian was in Bunbury. I love what he does. He's going to hopefully come and speak at the breakfast we'll have for our 10 year.
No,
I'll
definitely
talk about
will.
that in a sec. Actually, I want to mention that.
Committed for that.
So just on that, 10 years in April for Connect, my insurance broker business. So instead of having to piss up and drinks and all that kind of stuff, we're going to, I'm like, I got enough connections and relationships and I try and give back as much as I can. Plus I met people like this along the way that why don't I get these guys in to get other business people, clients, friends, family, whoever, and the people that have been on the journey for 10 years with me in the room, breakfast, lunch, whatever. So we're doing a breakfast 22nd of April. I'm pretty sure it's all coming together. Julian's going to come and chat. I've got Dave Clare coming from over east to talk about leadership and culture. Mo and Julian are going to really get onto the self-care point, and it's pretty cool. So
it's super cool.
It's super cool.
Because this is where it's at.
Yep. Now, the reason I thought about it, and it was on the phone with Mo the other week, is I'm like, Mo, we went to the gala, and I'm like, part of the partnership and sponsorship was getting Mo and Julian's time back. And I'm like, hey, man, I want to do this different. I want to record Julian and yourself or whatever we do about self-care, because when I onboard brokers and employees and new Connect partners, I want to be able to give them that education. It's actually what I was thinking. And then I'm like, how about I just shift my 10-year celebration and we do it and I'll record it, so I'm going to get a lot out of it, right? Now, that's enough about that. But to go back to the Happiness Co., 10 years, isn't it now? Yeah. And I think, is it 10 years?
No.
8?
So they're Happiness Co. are in their 9th year.
Ninth year.
Yeah.
So the first...
And it sort of coincides, all right, so the story behind it coincides with the loss of Julian's father.
That's right, yes.
Suicide.
Yep.
On his 21st birthday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The
I wasn't going to go into
celebration
that, but
huh?
I wasn't going to go into that.
That's okay, and
Yep.
and that's really powerful. Again,
It is.
Yep. He was lost for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then he found himself, and then boy, look at it now.
Yep.
So when you talk about next level and absolutely shifting the dial,
I just want to do the
reframing.
comparison bit.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, because
You're right.
you mentioned Lifeline, Black Dog.
Yep.
They do a fantastic job. The Black Dog I was part of last year of the other charity. just got to actually had a meeting with them, got to know them, but they're a big piece. They're one of the biggest mental health ones. It goes back to the study and the science and that behind it.
The research.
Yeah, the research. But all these big ones end up becoming, it's like business, like the EAP. They get that big and they just end up another name. Now, I think the difference with Happiness Co and Julian and Mo and the team is that they're constantly evolving and fresh in front of you. I see them as one of the leaders. I always talk about you guys. One of the leaders, like, look at the clients and support you give to the big tier ones. You sponsor, the whole Optus thing, the RAC, the clients, like, and just the impact you have. And like Julian's story, which I wasn't going to go into, but is epic as well. And the team and the name of it, like, you already know from the name of it, the mindset on it is going to be different. The culture is going to be different. I'm not saying better or worse. I just think no comparison or competitiveness, mental health, obviously, but it's epic. Happiness Co is epic, and had a meeting with you and Julian. Actually, Mitch was there as well. 6 months ago, whatever it was, and we chatted for a couple of hours. We talked AI, tech, the Happy app coming out, which I think we'll talk about a bit more. There's so much, and there's all these divisions and businesses now, and you guys are doing a fantastic job. I just wanted to
really appreciate that, absolutely. And being on the inside is vastly different to being on the outside.
I bet.
Like with any business. And so Happiness Co is the for-profit but social cause entity. So before the foundation was set up, the non-for-profit, a percentage of funds was then granted back or gifted back, should I say, to community. And that's where the free community activations piece is. Now, clever piece of commercial business, but social impact heart. Okay, and I really want to make that very, very clear
today. Go back
today.
to the social impact thing. Yeah.
It has to be, all right? Because companies are really struggling with the notion of what does our corporate social responsibility look like? What does that mean? And for most organisation, it's about governance, and with that, it sits generally in the environmental space. You take it now into the corporate space, as in employee well-being, community well-being. What the hell does that look like?
Yep.
And by the way, thank you very much, corporate donations. It's not about the donation. To me, donation hunting for donations, okay, it's soul destroying. And that's part of my journey in the last 12 months, which I'll share with you. This whole notion of, for us, for the foundation to do what it can do, by the way, take a step back. So Happiness Co, the foundation was born 4 years back, 3 years back, we're in our fourth year. For the foundation to do what it can do or needs to do, it has to have funds, okay? So that comes from a whole bunch of different, financial revenue streams, of which major one is the events that we run, and that's, by the way, year in, year out, it's been the gala, and I can talk about that, it's an amazing piece, but that's a gala, and then International Women's Week, which is coming up in a couple of weeks' time, but it's also around the community aspect, the community piece around those events. So we have a week of community-based activations. Mm-hmm. So the funds that are raised from the gala and through our through our fundraising, donations, etc., all those different revenue streams, goes back into giving back to the community. We have 3 part-time employees. I'm part-time.
Mm-hmm.
Plus. And I say plus, I volunteered my time.
Yep.
On the board as a volunteer and now in this role. Unlike the other majors, okay, who aspirationally do what they do, and thank you very much for the service they provide. The money that comes in, we go out. So one of those, as an example, which I want to speak to and reinforce what you said, Paul, in regards to pivoting, reinventing, being fresh. It has to be.
Yep.
It absolutely has to be. So the biggest fundraiser that we are now operating and is monumental, and there's no reference to Mo in that, is 20 people are going to be climbing to base camp Everest.
I've seen this, yeah.
Okay. That is in partnership with another charity.
Fantastic.
Okay, so that charity, it's super powerful.
Who's that? Can you say or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. No, absolutely. Amazing. Organisation set up as a result of a loss of a son and a brother to suicide.
Oh, wow.
Okay. It's called Moving Mountains.
Yep.
Okay. And The crew there, just amazing. But what they do is they fundraise for impact. They don't, and all that fundraising, and all that is voluntary, okay, because of. But then they went, well, who do we partner with to give this money to? They identified us and the work that we do. And now, so it's the 1 + 1 = 3 compound.
Yep.
So 20 people are going to be climbing. Now,
I see Julian sharing that a fair bit.
aspirationally, 150 Ks, okay,
Yep.
we're working on. And this, by the way, is not a pitch, okay? This is really around just fundamental 20 people community. They are building that relationship as we speak. And the brands that are coming on board understand, well, what is that social impact going to be? Well, that social impact going to be that 150, we're going to then do X with. But we're not going to do X just, this is a great idea, let's just do it. We're going to do that in consultation with the other charity. What is it that we want to do? A large chunk of that is going to go back into the Southwest to fuel the tour that we're doing in the Southwest with 15 to 18-year-olds. Okay? Super powerful, incredible, influencing young minds. Okay? Not to look at life, to look at life objectively and in a positive way. But that's one event, fundraiser. We were a charity partner, ourselves and Blue Tree Project, who again do amazing work. We were the co-charity partners to Merck, which is a mining and engineering. Mining and emergency response competition. So it's a competition where X number of organisations and their emergency response teams come together at Langley Park. It happens November. It's been happening now 15 years. Right. So the last Merck, we were co-partners with Blue Tree. So this cohort fundraised 150,000. We were a recipient of 75,000. So as a result of that, we're going out and we're delivering the Road to Happiness tour. So not only are we moving mountains, we're also Road to Happiness tour that we are now going to 4 regional locations. And this is, we're not talking about International Women's Day or Gala. They're events. These are actual movements. This is where the community piece kicks in. And this is where organisation can actually say, right, I understand how our corporate social responsibility translates into doing in community, in country, for community. What I want to do back with Merck is that, super grateful, okay, that they've just identified us and love what we're doing. I made contact with Sue Steele, who's one of the founders of Merck, just the other day. And in that conversation, I'm sure Sue won't mind me, referencing it.
Can we get her on?
Absolutely.
We'll talk after this because my brain's going on
she's
right
a
now.
super amazing woman. Absolutely. Merck, by the way, is voluntary. This whole voluntary piece is just next level. But two major organisations that have come together 15 years back to create this independent, space for emergency response crews from tier 1, companies, the mining companies, etc., and utilities to come together and compete against each other to maintain their skill level to help people in crisis. Okay, emergency response, right? Beating their community on site, etc. So this is an opportunity for them to actually compete in a friendly environment down at Langley Park, where, by the way, community can come in and have a look, and that's a whole nother piece, to save lives.
Wow.
Okay, so, of course, aligned with us, fantastic. 75Ks coming our way, thank you very much. What are we going to do with that? We're not going to do with that unless we've had the conversation with Merck.
Yep.
So I spoke to Sue the other day and I said, hey, Sue, they've had a change of guard with their lead person who's taking some time out. Jean, call out to Jean. Amazing people, lovely people. To go, right, what are we going to do with this? We're already planning, but we want you guys to be part of that conversation. And Sue said, Mo, this is the first time a charity who we've fundraised for, respect to Blue Tree and others, who've actually post that gone, hey,
come back the other way. Yeah.
What are we going to do? We know what we want to do, but let's do that together. And in particular, because those 15 or whatever organisations that fundraised, where's the lens on them, giving back to them and their community? So how do we, my word for now, you can use it, is amplify.
Yep.
How do we amplify
I like that word.
It's huge. How do we amplify? And we are amplifying in consultation, collaboration with them. And she said, mate, that is just amazing. By the way, I rang her at a time where she was not coping. And just that pivoting from, hey, purposeful conversation towards it. No, purposeful conversation around, hey, how you doing?
Yep.
I was entrusted in that moment of time and energy to be able to go, hey, half an hour conversation.
Wow.
She acknowledged it and appreciated it, etc. And you know what?
Impact.
It bonded even more so.
Wow.
Because it's not just a charity doing the shit that we're doing. All right. And
it's relationship, the
thank
conversation.
you very much. It's not transactional. It's about that long-term piece.
Correct.
And this is where charities in particular just, need the commercial, strategic.
And not saying, and you make a point there, and I know you were saying that very fragile and carefully then. And it's not that charities or just anyone in general has bad intent. It's just businesses do it. They evolve and they get to a point. Go back to your story, the EAP. Does anyone wake up in the morning intently don't want to do the right thing by people and not support people? No. But things evolve, but it's about taking that moment for a second, then reflecting. And I think that's what Happiness Co. and yourself, Julian, and the team do really well. They stop and go, how do we do it different? We don't follow the way it's always been done because we want a different outcome.
Has to.
Right? And just going back to what you said then and keeping the things at front of mind, relationship, the empathy, the listening,
the
collaboration.
The self-care, the people care, the community care. It's what fundamentally is to be community. So if you're a corporate out there and you're thinking corporate social responsibility, this is what I do, just stop and reevaluate.
Yeah, what's that mean?
What the hell is that? What does that actually mean?
You're saying it because it's on a policy or a f***ing program? Or
Correct.
is it like, what does it mean to you? Because in the corporate, and we've all been there, you read this stuff, it looks good, feels good, because that's what they do very well. They've got plenty of money, the branding, the big corporates, they're good, and there's thousands of people. But go back and grab the bit of paper that, talking about that stuff and go, what does it really mean? And what's the impact it makes? Because go challenge it if it doesn't. Because these other bigger companies need you to challenge. I used to do it all the time in my role, nothing to do with mental health or anything or support, but they need to be challenged because that's how they evolve, the big companies. That's because, they're big beasts.
That's how individuals evolve. That's how teams
Yep.
evolve.
But it starts there. It's like an up.
And that's how communities.
Yep.
I, we, us.
Yeah.
That's
I love that you talk
go back
about
to that model of care. Self-care, self-compassion. Us compassion. If I'm not compassionate about myself and looking after myself, how the fuck am I going to care for anyone else? I haven't got that energy space for another person. Back to Momentum Revolution. After that weekend, the next day episode, went to a business news breakfast, sitting next to two incredible women doing some incredible stuff. Anyhow, long story short, we're going to hopefully do some collabs together. But I was so centered. I was so grounded. I had loved that experience, pure love between guys who had found themselves and been able to go, now, I'm who I am, self-compassion. To the next day going, well, let me process this. But while I'm processing this, let's be present for these two conversations I'm having, which was so powerful in a room of 500 corporates who was not all about, but a large chunk was, look at me.
Yep.
I'm wearing my suit, my tie.
Yeah, of course.
Disconnected, totally disconnected.
Yep.
Why was I sitting next to these two individuals? What's the potential between? Did it resonate? Yeah, both did. And they both come back and said, hey, Mo, love that conversation.
Wow.
Love where you're going with that.
How good.
And what can we do?
Yep.
And that's the...
Excuse me, heaps of energy talking about it. I love it.
Moment of time and space. So
it comes back to the basics, listening at present spot you were sitting, the listening, because you were obviously, you started talking to these ladies and then obviously they...
Everyone's got a story in their journey. And they're different stages.
But how many are glazed over and go, yeah, or how many sit there? Like when you actually take a moment and sit there and get to understand it, the exciting and the wonderful things that can come out of that is second to none. Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. My short name or maiden name is Mo because I can use moment of time, and I do. With some with my social voice, some commentary.
That's probably the name of it, dude. Hey,
so on that note, here we are. Okay. Love the conversation. I know we've definitely chatted probably a lot longer than what
and I know
expected.
you're going to struggle with this. Can you give me 60 seconds on footy for life? Because it was a part of our journey.
Massive part of the journey. Okay. So at the heart of that, and credit to the individual who I was with, mates at the time, the individual who found his way to me to say, Mo, this is what I want to do. Okay, what I want to achieve. And I said, yep, fine. The young man still is struggling, absolutely struggling. He's got severe ADHD, aspiration he wants to achieve. But anyhow, so came to me, had the conversation. I tried to make sense of it. Dealing with having a conversation with an individual with extreme ADHD is challenging, but hopefully moment of time, calming it down, clarifying, etc., to go, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yep.
Goes to the point of this aspiration is what he wants to achieve. I said, sure, through the charity, we'll be the recipients of funds. Fantastic, thank you very much. But Mo, I need you to help me on this. And it's like, okay, that's a whole nother dimension.
Mm-hmm.
All right? It's not just the recipient piece, it's now being heavily involved in to actually make it work, to succeed. When we talk about success and KPI, okay, the figure that I look at is that we had 3,500 people at this event at Leederville Footy Club, Footy Oval.
So that's probably the point I want to touch on. Don't go down the rabbit hole too much. I think maybe we'll bring this up another time. I'll chat to you after this podcast. But yeah, what was the impact there? That 3,500 people
3,500
is exceptional.
By the way, okay, on a shoe, absolutely, frayed shoestring.
Yep.
Okay, budget.
Yep.
Thank you very much for I think it was 2.5, 3K.
Yep.
In-kind insurance to enable us to do that. Okay, without you, we wouldn't have done it.
Yep.
Okay, without all these incredible
there was
people.
Heaps of input. It was fantastic.
But from a risk mitigation, etc. By the way, the week beforehand, we were come out of masks. We were restricted by the number of people that could congregate because of the virus. This is again history in the making. I mean, there's so many chapters in this journey, but that one in particular. And at the heart of this young man wanting to achieve what we achieved, we were able to bring Ben Cousins.
Yep.
Okay, out of where he was, and I don't say that lightly, but with the journey that we were on, the conversations I had with Ben, who's an amazing man, to him trusting me with some of his story.
Yep.
Okay, to then enable that relationship piece to now commercial. Here it is, the impact we want to create. To release that to market was phenomenal because not only did we get Ben on board, but we also got Woosha as the coach.
Yep, that's
so
right.
This is after 15 years, captain, coach.
Yep, so cool.
Okay, came together.
Yep.
So when we talk about impact, boy, that was, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. By the way, it was a 42-degree day.
Yeah.
We had to wear, literally, the mask situation was happening, so we had restrictions. And
COVID, eh?
going into it, going, holy, what are we doing?
I remember talking to you the week coming up to it, like just there was a heap of variables for you, but
Massive.
But come back to you in relationship just for a sec, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this is why you're my go-to when it comes to this stuff. Besides being friends, like I learned a lot about you actually at that point because we probably didn't know each other as much.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a little bit of growth along the way, and I remember talking to you, and I think it got a bit stressful. And there's a few variables. There was
100%.
You supporting and helping your friend, the young guy. I know there's been challenges there and after, but that's another chat. But you're once again didn't stick your head in the sand, didn't go negative, didn't go victim. Probably doing more than I should, or this is not going to happen. It was like, we're going to make this happen. We had the mask thing. You had the capacity, the whole Ben Cousins piecing it together.
Everything.
That's relationship. Go back to what we talked about. Community and relationship, like two words that you said the moment we walked in here, were probably two of the key pieces of that whole thing coming together, right? I remember talking to you on the phone. So it's a credit to you. It's go back to you. It's a credit, right?
Thank you. We'll definitely on that episode definitely take.
Because I remember talking to you 12 months after it. You went through that no one knows.
Large chunk of that for sure. But again, I can only do so much.
Of course.
Back to me, we.
Yep.
So, the young man who brought it to to our table, literally, struggled and is still struggling. And unbeknownst to a lot of people at the time, and I'll close out with this, he was near enough to suicide ideation, and he was being hounded by a government entity at the time, and I had to sort of buffer that.
Yep.
And at one point, it was actually a local newspaper as well, had to buffer that and say, look, please take the heat off this. That is not the story. this is the story. Be aware that he is struggling, okay, and I'm now supporting him in and around that level of risk.
Unbelievable.
All right? So, again...
Talk about the things
on
that happen that people don't know and will probably never find out. Like this is the key stuff, right?
It was amazing, mate, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. It was an amazing opportunity. Even in those days, shoestring budget, seriously. And thank you for the corporates that came on board, including Benko. My mate Steve, who's an amazing man. And
I actually wouldn't mind getting him on. I thought he's on my list because I know you've got a relationship.
You may need a teleprompter or whatever,
That's
an
okay.
interpreter because of his Irish accent, especially when he gets excited. But he's amazing. He's grown so much. But with that, again, the relationship piece, all those sponsorships came through the relationships that I had with those individual companies. Getting Ben on board, was super, super critical to the whole success of. Without him on board, it wouldn't have happened. Without you on board, it wouldn't happen. Without Steve, without me, without whoever. It's
but
that
the community come together.
It's that communities together creating this. And what an experience it was. I'll still remember hot day, as I said, bloody hot. Being on the ground with a microphone, cheering people up, turning my head around and seeing a couple of young, really young kids, It was so hot we had a Demister spray. And they were just there having fun, It was so organic, old school community, Respect, Optus Stadium, etc. Next level, major levels up. But that was ground roots.
It's the community space, isn't it? Grassroots. It's that environment it needed. It was perfect.
And coming out of COVID in particular, this was one of the for us.
And it could have went either way 4 days prior. Like it was like
McGowan,
but everything aligned.
Said thank you very much, but no. You can only have 100 people. You can have 50 people. That's it. Everything that we'd worked to. So opportunity, timing, people, community. I mean, you could write a chapter on that because of what it was and the people around us that actually made it happen. And shout out to all those, everyone that literally volunteered, incredible.
Unreal.
And huge learning from it as well. So
I'm glad we touched on that.
Thanks for bringing that up.
No, I had it in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, I know the other day you rang me and you're like, Paul, what's the podcast about? There's a couple of reasons. I don't need to do it for you, but I don't make a structure. I don't do anything because I think I'm finding my groove and getting really good on this because I know key points about you and I've learned a lot I didn't. So if it was structured, you'd probably overthink it too much. Maybe not you, but other people that get on. So I love that I just throw things in. It'll work if it works. If it doesn't, I think there's another 10 stories, man, you could talk about. Without a doubt. I want to talk to you about after this. Maybe we do a little short side thing, but it really touches on a lot of topics that we talked about today. I would love to dig on a couple more just set little topics. Don't know whether that'll work for you, but we'll talk about it. Because if any of them points can impact or help or someone relates to it, this is why I do this. Because if someone relates to one little nugget, I'm stoked. Because it lets their walls down. They be vulnerable. Like Trent last week, he's been locked up, he's done this and he was a rat bag for years and he disappointed his dad. And like he's never spoke about it. Until last week, I can break his walls down now. I love that I've got that ability to do that. You're pretty vulnerable anyway, but we really dug deep today. I don't know how much to share your story, but I really appreciate that. That was hit home for me.
I appreciate it. Appreciate
more to the point
time
that you shared it. Like that there, this here, you sharing that, that's huge. And my brain is going 100 mile an hour. What we can do after this, just like sharing more.
I can see that happening up there.
You know me better than most people.
And the last thing, just to close out, I want to close out with is, and I'm saying this to quite a few people, I'm holding space and energy for you.
Right? I like you said that to me yesterday in the message.
Holding space is one thing. Holding energy is another.
I love it.
All right. Because there is a lot of energy that comes from you. 100%.
Love it.
And I love that energy, but also it may not be sustainable. It may actually create a lot of other stuff associated with it. Not you specifically, but just energy.
In general,
But then also the constructive negative and positive
energy. Do you know why I love that you brought that up?
Energy.
I love that you brought that up. So I'll go back. Actually, I've met him at a workshop my breathwork guy, Matt Bruce, and he taught me a lot about this. He used to be part of Happiness Co, doing workshops, or I can't remember the involvement.
Yep.
Now, you always talk to me about this energy piece, right? Now, I've done a heap of work around it, and it's all about the wavelength being more consistent than the up and down. And 100%. I know firsthand, and this will be one of our sub chats, because I am that guy, or was that guy. I think now I pick my moments a lot. You've still got to be you. What works for you doesn't work for me, or vice versa. But I take a lot in on that whole energy piece, and even coming down to when we eat, the energy of the day, the meetings we have in my calendar now. I'm working out my energy, because you want to get the best out of productivity and efficiency, right?
Correct. Yep.
So I won't go into it anymore. I love that you brought that up, because you've always said that to me a lot. I've changed or evolved a lot with it, because I'm more intentional about it. And just from a generic sense, you're right. You've this holding space and energy for people, because everyone's different. Like how I sit with you, I'd probably sit with someone different, because everyone takes it in. I've learned that from relationships even. Or even your kids, like the energy you put out and and how you are in the room is what you get back. And probably my daughter's teaching me more about that than absolutely anything right now. So
and I'm seeing you, and we're seeing you, because you're sharing that.
Yep.
With your family time. How important that is.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
And when people talk about being busy.
Yep.
All right, and they're not busy with their family.
Yep.
And guiding their children in particular. And I've got one mate in particular who went through Momentum Revolution. He's got 2 young sons. Who are struggling with the change. They're selling their family house, the separation piece happening. 2 young boys, one in particular who's so emotionally connected, but can't make sense. And for this mate to be there, to be present for his boys who are throwing stuff at him left, right, and centre, because of the workshop that he went through, he's actually able to cope with that, and that is super powerful.
Yep.
So yeah. We talk about the sins of the fathers. I mentioned my father, my grandfather, my uncle, 3 incredibly strong role models. Dad still gives, local charities, the sausage sizzle.
How good?
That's
How good?
where I've come from.
Yep.
But I didn't know that.
Yep.
I only just the other month just stopped and thought about that. And I said, yeah. So the sins of the fathers and generations, okay, positive, negative. In this case, it's absolutely positive. It influenced me to the point of who I am.
I'll talk to you about this for another hour, but I won't.
But let's flip that to the other side. At what point do you stop that? Do you stop that?
That is a whole another chat, mate. If I answer that, we'll be here for another 2 hours, and there won't be enough recording in the camera. Hey, I want to touch on something that's really, and I've been thinking about this, like roadblocks, risk, and resilience, right? It's not really a motto, but that's what this is based around. So I'm going to say they're the 3 pillars, or the 3, the pieces, right? But something that's popped up in my head heaps the last couple of weeks, and it just resonated with you. What if it happens for us, not to us? Now, that's really big 100%. With me. That resonates with me heaps, and it helps me get through stuff, right? Now, yes, some people, the worst happens, but it's before then. It's like, what if we had the mindset that it's happening for us, not to us? Now, I want that up there under this, because the journey, the podcast, the book, the chapters.
Yeah.
Like, if we always, and I do this heaps, if we grab something, even last June, laying on this floor, 3 a.m. by myself, restructuring the business, all the next morning, how do I get up? Because we all go through the hard days. How do I get up and dig my heels in? Is by going, that just taught me something. I'm going to smash on, dig my heels in. Let's use it. Correct. Now, it comes back to that saying, what if it happens for us, not to us? Now, my bushfire last year was hard. Without going into it, it'll probably be in another chat, but the green shoots out of it now in the springboard 2026. Have I still got some big, even today, significant things I've got to make decisions that I don't want to and I avoid? Yep. But every time I get hold of it, I'm like, what if it happens for us, not to us? Yeah. Now, if that's a shift of the glass half full, half empty, victim, you can tie it all in. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%.
You
100%.
Like, I went back and I said to you earlier, not that you want this to happen to anyone, your 50 years of age pivot moment. Mm-hmm. What if it happened for you, not to you? Because look what you're doing now today, and like 100%. How many impacts. So I don't have to say anymore.
And this is it. I mean, on your floor, etc. Me, I was fetal on the floor.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Going, all right, I've got to just one more.
I wouldn't change it for the world though right now as of today.
But boy, oh boy, it was horrific.
Yep.
It was absolutely horrific. So absolutely, There are moments in time where you'll find that energy.
Moments
Of time where you'll find that energy. Thanks, Paul. And some of them may be your defining moments. You know.
I want you to give me 2 names I can get on here. And whether I know them, don't know them, you intro me, don't intro.
I'll give you 2 names for sure.
No, come on.
Oh,
Shout 'em
you
out
want now?
Yeah, come on. 2 comes to your head. I'd love to get Julian at some point, obviously, but
Yep.
he's going to do something for me in a couple of months.
I think, based on the conversation we had today around that, I think shout out to Sue Steele.
Yep, that'd be
from
epic.
Red Earth.
Yep.
Amazing woman. I think would be great. To
Yep.
have on
Especially the people that maybe aren't out there, they make this big impact behind the scenes. They do all this stuff. I'd love to pull that out.
And Red Earth Health. I mean, just what
Okay,
they've
cool.
done.
Can we note that down,
Amazing.
mate?
So Sue, more than happy to intro. And again, what she's done with Merck as well is just amazing.
Yep.
And I think from a remote regional piece,
Yep.
I mean, I mentioned Brett, I mentioned Steve.
Steve, yeah.
Probably Steve.
Yeah, I reckon. You've told me a lot about him over the years. And
But there's a little bit of comp there because I was keen to get him on.
yeah.
So
there's no competition in this, mate.
What we might
just
do is have a 3-way convo.
How
But
cool would that be?
That would be insane. No pun there. But that would be because the energy around the 3 of us would be amazing. But
this will tie into what I want to talk to you
Steve.
about after this, actually, just quickly before you go. So that might actually kind of work and kick it off. And it's a bit of a collab. My brain just went 100 mile an hour.
We're just about on board a youth speaker.
Oh, cool.
And I need to check in with him.
Yep.
I think, again,
Another good one.
23-year-old.
Oh.
Where you
Boom.
at? Where you at? I mean, you've had a 63-year-old, 23-year-old, just at the start of his journey.
Feel?
Mate, huge. And just to be present in that level of, energy is just amazing.
There's no.
So,
We're going to wrap it up there. There's no better way to end this than a big hug, Mo.
a Mo hug.
A Mo hug.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, mate. That was so good. Big impact.